Hunter x Hunter, start with the prison power. Chapter 1. Hunter Calendar December 1997. The eastern part of the continent where the Republic of Bartokia is located. Near Sky Arena. Where am I? A boy with a somewhat pale face looked at the young figure reflected in the shop window. Did I transmigrate? My body is not the same as before. Ryan pursed, is that your name? He seemed to be hit by something. His vision went dark and he fell into a coma. When he woke up again, he was in this world. Is this the original world? Sky Arena, Hunter x Hunter, interesting. The moment Lean woke up, a huge amount of memories poured into his mind. Even Lean's spirit couldn't bear the huge amount of memories, and his face instantly turned pale. His brain felt a little dizzy. Regardless of the strange looks around him, Lean sat down on the spot and slowly sorted out the huge amount of memories in his mind. After a period of combing through, Lean discovered that the newly added memory was divided into two parts. Part of it is the memory of the original person, named Ryan Purst, who is 12 years old and dependent on his father, Kes. It's just that this cheap father died unexpectedly yesterday, and his death was extremely miserable. He should have been tortured before his death. Little Lean was too sad and could not accept the fact, so he died suddenly and unconsciously while walking on the road. It seems I came at the wrong time. Lean murmured and frowned. After sorting out this part of his memory, Lean found that the situation he was facing now was a bit complicated, which started with his original ancestors. The original ancestor, Doug Pester, was a wealthy man who liked to collect all kinds of treasures. For some unknown reason, Doug suddenly disappeared from public view. Huge assets evaporated instantly, Doug's old enemies annexed his property, and various treasures were divided up, and the reason happened to be in these treasures. There is one treasure that has not yet been found, and it is also the most precious of all treasures. It is a gem called Stars in the Night Sky. In addition, judging from the memory of the original owner, it seems that a group of unidentified people have discovered the existence of the Lean family through investigation and believe that this gem has been passed down. The Lean family is the only remaining lineage of the Pest family, which should also be the reason why the original owner's father died unexpectedly. It seems that the current situation is very unfriendly to me. After analyzing the current situation, Lean felt a sense of urgency. He frowned and continued to sort out the remaining information. Is this a prison? When checking another memory, Lean discovered that he was actually bound to a prison. And it's not an ordinary prison, because it can only hold telepathic people with sinful values. The prison is currently only in its initial form. Since it is in its initial form, it means that the prison can be upgraded. The condition for upgrading to the next level is Lean's awakening. Currently, Lean cannot enter it, and every time he upgrades the prison level, he can obtain a prison-specific skill. In order to make it easier for Lean to identify who can be caught and sent to prison, the prison also gave him a very appropriate skill. Eye of Judgment. The effect of this skill is that you can see how many sin points a person with telekinesis has. The number of sin points will be displayed on the head of a telekinesis user with a sin value, but it can only see the person with telekinesis and is ineffective for ordinary people. This prison can only hold people who have no ability to resist. When the information came here, Lean was a little confused as to why people transmigrated and gave away magical equipment and various equipment and skills at the beginning. How could he finally find a prison similar to a system, with such harsh conditions for use? Lean knew almost everything about the prison's abilities. The summary was that the prison wouldn't be of much help to him now unless he could awaken his mind now. As expected, I can only rely on myself. Fortunately, I'm not a vegetarian either. Since it's near the Sky Arena, the weapons shop must have the weapons I need. Looking up at the tall tower in the distance, Lean touched his pocket and murmured, with more than 30,000 kiwis, I should be able to buy a good long knife. Lean has sorted out the current situation. Faced with the danger that may come at any time, Lean feels that he cannot stay in this place for a long time, but he must arm himself before leaving. Before transmigrating, Lean had been practicing martial arts passed down from his family for 15 years since he was 6 years old because of his ancestral training. He originally thought that the long knife in his hand could only be used to peel fruits, but he did not expect that it would be of great use now. In addition, during Lean's physical examination, he discovered that the body's physical condition was actually better than the original one due to the prison's transformation. A good body and martial arts skills gave Lean the confidence to face unknown dangers. According to the memory in his mind, Lean came to the weapons store. Looking at the long knives on the shelf, Lean slowly picked them out. As a swordsman, sturdiness and sharpness are the first factors when choosing a weapon, but now that Lin doesn't have enough funds, he can only choose the one that suits him best. Lin picked up a weapon similar to the Tang Dao, pulled it out, reached out and flicked the blade, waved it a few times, frowned, and seemed to be a little dissatisfied with the knife, but Lin still held the knife. Walked towards the weapon shop owner. "How much does this knife cost?" Lin put the knife on the counter and asked the weapon store owner. 50,000 ordained nuns. The boss's attitude was nonchalant, just like how he ignored Lin when he came in. 30,000 ordained nuns. Make a deal. Before Lin could finish speaking, he was blocked by the owner of the weapons store, and his tone seemed impatient, as if he was afraid that Lin would regret it. Lin didn't know that this knife had been kept in the store for 4 years because of its appearance. If it hadn't been sold this year, it would have had to be melted down and reforged in order to recover losses. Of course, what the boss thinks is not important to Lin. He just needs a suitable knife. Money is only useful if you are alive, and this knife is a layer of protection against danger. Seeing the boss's quick agreement, Lin didn't waste any time, put the money on the counter, picked up the knife and walked out of the weapons store. After leaving the weapon shop, Lin already had an idea of what he was going to do next. To sum up, stay away from this vortex of right and wrong, improve his strength, become a telepathic person, see what the prison is like, and avenge the original person. After all, if you take up someone else's body, you have a share of the cause and effect, and you have to pay it back. As for after taking revenge, of course, I will pursue my own life. Originally, my parents died in an accident in the previous life. The large amount of insurance money and compensation made me have a worry-free life, but my life has always lacked a trace of expectations. Now that we are in this world, how can we not pursue the unknown? Chapter 2. At sunset, the city seems to be dyed golden under the light of the setting sun. On the road leading to the city gate, a young boy with black hair and a very handsome appearance was walking on the road. He attracted frequent glances from the people around him. Lin didn't care about this, knowing that what he needed now was to leave here as soon as possible. The old father of the predecessor has been killed. The one who inherited everything from the predecessor will be the opponent's primary target. He must leave this vortex of right and wrong as soon as possible. Unfortunately, things didn't go as planned. Just as he was about to reach the city gate, 4 black cars sped over and stopped near Lin in the blink of an eye. Men in black suits poured out like a tide. The moment he saw what the other party was wearing, Lin knew who the other party was. They were gangsters, a characteristic organization in the hunter world. This group of forces was under the jurisdiction of the 10 old men, but they usually fought for territory, and the superiors each had their own advantages and disadvantages. But the people at the bottom are basically desperados. The moment the opponent got out of the car, Lin knew that the person coming was evil. He charged forward with both feet and unsheathed the long knife in his hand at an extremely fast speed to slash at the nearest person. As the light of the knife flashed, the gang members who had just gotten out of the car and were about to say something saw a flash of white light in front of their eyes, and then the knife slashed across their necks at an extremely fast speed, and a large amount of blood spurted out in an instant. Retreating with one blow, Lin did not hesitate to fight. When the opponent did not react, he quickly evacuated and ran towards the city. As for outside the city, as long as the other party is not a fool, there must be a dragon's pool and a tiger's den. In a one-to-many situation, Lin knew that guerrilla warfare was the best option, and would never fight head-on without thinking. Come on, capture them alive. The leading gang member was obviously shocked by Lin's operation. He didn't expect that a 12-year-old child could have such skills. Following the superior's words, more than 20 gang members quickly dispersed, following Lin's footsteps. Looking at the leaving members, the leading man took out the phone from his suit pocket and dialed. As the call was connected, the leading gangster said quickly and respectfully, "Master Monty, this is Huck. We have found the kid from the Pester family. Huck, we don't have much time left. My brothers and sisters are all well prepared for Dad's birthday. If this time things go well, you will get what you want. If you don't do it right, I guarantee with the credibility of the Collier family, death is the best end for you." After Huck heard Monty Collier's words, he felt a sudden chill, and his back was instantly wet with cold sweat. "Yes, Master Monty," Huck replied hastily. "Besides, I don't want to hear any bad news. Don't waste a whole day like Kess did because of false information. You have to bring the gem to me tomorrow." After Monty finished speaking, he hung up the phone, leaving Huck in a daze holding the phone. Huck put his cell phone into the pocket of his suit, lowered his head and cursed secretly. Huck, who knew that he was just a nobody, had no room to resist when faced with Monty's death order, and could only hope that his men could capture Lean. Attention, I am Huck. Everyone must step up their efforts to catch that nasty kid. If you find that kid, fire a signal flare immediately. If necessary, you can use a firearm to break his legs. Huck picked up the walkie-talkie, quickly arranged the arrangements, and got into a black car. At this time, Lean was lying low on the top of a high-rise building not far away, observing everything just now. The first time you killed someone, did you still hesitate for 2 seconds? Before he knew when the danger would come, Lean had already anticipated this situation. Since there is no choice, it is better to wield the weapon in your hand than to be a lamb to be slaughtered. Even though he had made some mental preparations, the overspeeding heartbeat, the accelerated blood flow, and the nervous and excited mood all showed that Lean was not calm at the moment. Lean's plan was to hide out of the city, and it was obvious that some key locations in the city were already controlled by these gangs. Just showing up will inevitably trigger all the gangsters to swarm him, and death may be the best outcome. So faced with this situation, Lean could only choose other methods. Rather than just sit back and wait for death, it's better. Not knowing what he thought of, Lean's eyes flashed and he slowly retreated from the roof. Before, Lean had observed from the rooftop and saw the direction in which the gang members left. A total of 23 people should be equipped with pistols, walkie-talkies and other equipment, and night was the best time for Lean to start taking action. The moment a series of thoughts were generated, Lean clenched his fists and slowly loosened them, walking forward step by step until his figure disappeared in the darkness. Night Gold is an inn located on the edge of the Sky Arena. On the surface, this is a relatively shabby and cheap hotel, but secretly it is a criminal den that specializes in selling drugs and arms. The reason why Lean knew this was because his old father, Kess, was once a customer of this store and was responsible for introducing people to spend money here. From this, it can be seen that Mr. Kess was not a good person. At this moment, under the cover of darkness, Lean came to the vicinity of Night Gold, and the reason for placing the target here was of course not the money inside, but the drugs and arms inside. From the memory of the original person, I learned that the owner of this den was apparently the boss of a neighborhood, but in fact he was the property of the chief of the city police bureau. Because both the black and white teams need to give face to this big tiger, and because this is just a sales den and there are not many goods stored, the guard force is very weak. Kid, what are you doing here? Are you lost? Pushing open the dilapidated wooden door, which was golden at night, the person who greeted Lean was a shirtless man, but the man's obscene smile made people feel sick no matter how he looked at it. Uncle, I seem to be lost? Would you like to rest here for a night? With her clear voice, innocent eyes, and delicate face, Lean felt that he had given 100% of his acting skills in his previous life. Of course, Uncle will arrange for you to stay for one night right away. The big man was so happy that he thought to himself, I must be lucky today, for such a high-end product to fall into a trap. Thank you, Uncle. Lean showed an innocent smile. No problem, no problem. The big man swallowed, waved his hands left and right, tried his best to suppress the silly smile on his face, and couldn't wait to lead Lean. Under the leadership of the big man, Lean did not go to the upper floor of the hotel. Instead, he followed the big man through the side door of the hotel and came to the underground room. Chapter 3. The big man brought Lean into the room, with a grin on his face, and quickly locked the door. When he turned around, Lean took out the long knife hidden in his clothes, unsheathed it and penetrated the big man's throat from behind. Rubbish! Lean's eyes were slightly cold. On the way here, he met a total of 6 people, and everyone looked at the big man with a hint of amusement. And when he looked at Lean, he was even more gloating, which showed that this scumbag had done this kind of thing not just once or twice. We met 6 in total, including the one in front of me, which means there are at least 7 people. Lean secretly estimated based on what he saw on the road. Lean placed the long knife in the room, hid the dagger found on the big man in his sleeve, opened the door and walked out, pretending to be nonchalant. We have to kill these people first. If there are any left alive, it will ruin the plan. After making up his mind, Lean walked lightly and walked in the direction he came in. Stealth and assassination were originally the killer's specialties, and Lean was at best a second-hand swordsman. This group of people in the underground is not an important person, they are just gangsters on the street, their specialty is to do all kinds of evil. Night is the time when these people are most likely to relax their vigilance, and the dimly lit underground space is an excellent venue. What Lean has to do is to get close to the opponent, cut off the opponent's throat to prevent him from making any sound, and then hit the target. Phew! The last one. Looking at the corpse in front of him, Lean raised his hand to wipe his forehead, but there was no sweat. Suddenly he saw the blood on his hand and joked, "Sure enough, I am not a professional. Then let's look around to see if there's anything I need." Although it had not been long since his first murder, Lean's mental endurance was excellent and he did not hesitate at all when slitting the opponent's throat. Lean went back to the room to get his long knife, and looked for it in one room after another. Found it, looks good. Lean looked at the warehouse full of explosives and drugs in front of him with great satisfaction, and then started rummaging through it carefully. Because the original person had read books about explosives, it was not difficult for Lean to identify them. Adhesive TNT, good to take away. The liquid high explosive bomb is good. This tube can blow up a shop. The timed hydraulic bomb is also very good. You can use it when you destroy this place. A pile of items was harvested, and 2 suitcases were filled in total. One box contained various explosives, and the other contained drugs. Then Lean found the financial room, but unfortunately the safe inside couldn't be opened, so he had to give up and leave Night Gold with 2 suitcases. Boom! 10 minutes after Lean left, a huge explosion appeared, instantly attracting the attention of the entire city. At this time, Lean was wearing a hat he didn't know where he got it from, and was in a remote phone booth. "Who is this?" "This is the Security Bureau." The impatient voice of the police officer appeared, and the surrounding environment was very messy. It was obvious that these guys were frightened by the explosion and were thrown into confusion. "Mr. Police Officer, I just saw a group of people in black suits coming out of Night Gold. Not long after they left, Night Gold exploded and hurt my leg." Lean adjusted, said the voice. "What are you talking about?" "The noise just now was because Night Gold exploded." The police officer was also shocked. He was not an ordinary police officer, but the brother-in-law of the deputy director of the Security Bureau. Of course he knew what Night Gold was about. After all, his brother-in-law still had half of the shares there. "Mr. Police Officer, the rocks flying from the explosion hurt my legs." Doo-doo, doo-doo." Hearing the sound of the phone hanging up, Lean smiled softly, bumped the 2 boxes in his hands and said, "I'll rely on you guys from now on." Peibo, who has been the director of the Security Bureau for 8 years, is very happy today. Recently, he used the black money he saved for many years to finally get a promotion. Looking at the slim figure in the bathroom and imagining the prospects after promotion, Peibo drank down the drink in his hand. Suddenly the phone rang, which made Peibo very dissatisfied as he was just about to get into bed. He hesitated for a moment, but finally picked up the phone. "What? My sales point was bombed by gangsters." After hearing the news, Peibo was instantly dominated by anger, his face turned red, and he wanted to kill all the gangsters immediately. After just a while, Peibo, who had risen from the bottom, used the self-control he had cultivated over the years to suppress his anger. "It's not clear, but what is certain is that it must not be a local gang. They don't have the courage." The voice of the deputy director of the Security Bureau came, causing Peibo to fall into deep thought. "Hold on." Peibo hung up the phone and dialed another number. "Check to see if there are any traces of non-local gangs operating in the city recently." Peibo's hard work these years was not in vain. Being able to give face in both black and white must be something special. And this phone call is from the intelligence organization he cultivated, and the role of this organization is to sell intelligence in the city for him. "Honey, what's wrong with you?" A woman with a slim figure and a beautiful face walked out of the bathroom and saw Peibo with a confused expression. "Get out! Don't let me see you these days!" Peibo yelled, visible anger almost filling his mind. The woman naturally understood that the situation in front of her was very bad. She even just picked up her clothes, wrapped herself in a bath towel and left Peibo's mansion without looking back. While Peibo was anxiously waiting for news, Lean saw the right moment and stopped a police car. "Officer, I just saw a group of people in black suits who seemed to be related to the explosion just now." The moment the police officer rolled down the window, Lean spoke first. "What? Where?" "I'll take you there. I just saw them walking in that direction." Lean got into the police car, and the 4 police officers in the car except the driver looked at Lean. Boy, you better make sure what you say is true, otherwise the gun in my hand won't care whether you are a child or not. One of the police officers said viciously. Faced with the threat, Lin smiled slightly and did not take the other party's threat to heart. Lin knew very well that these police officers were not good people either. The order in the world of Hunter x Hunter is very chaotic. In some ways, these police officers are similar to gangsters, except that one is in the open and the other is in the dark. Under Lin's guidance, 4 gang members appeared in front of the police car. Lin had set up this place a long time ago just to allow the 2 groups to meet. Moreover, the explosion just now caused pedestrians on the street to hide in their homes, which in turn showed that these people were suspicious. This was one of the effects that Lin wanted. The police car stopped in front of the 4 people. The police officer in the car ignored Lin and immediately got out of the car and pointed his pistol at the gangster. Put your hands above your head and don't move. Following the actions of the police officers, the gang members were also confused at this time, not knowing why these damn cops came to them. You want to do? Drip, drip. Before the gang members finished speaking, they heard the beeping sound coming from the police car. Gangsters who often have gun battles certainly understand the meaning of this sound. Chapter 4. Boom. Along with the huge explosion, whether it was the police station, gangsters, or citizens, they all focused their attention here. And Lin had already walked to the trash can on the opposite street and took out the box hidden inside. He opened the suitcase, checked the drugs inside, and quickly placed the suitcase at the explosion site. Before leaving, he did not forget to throw a grenade to the side of the suitcase to fake a crime scene. Boom. As the second explosion sounded, the police car dispatched by the security bureau approached the scene even faster, but Lin had already left and hid. At this time, Peibo, who was waiting anxiously, finally received a call from his subordinate. Is it the Collier family? Are you sure? Peibo said angrily. Yes, I'm very sure that they are the only gangs that have entered the city recently. The person on the other end of the phone said in a very firm tone. After hanging up the phone, Peibo was about to make a call to make arrangements when the phone rang. Peibo frowned and picked it up. What did you say? Our police officers had a fight with the Collier family, and finally the other party detonated a bomb and killed 5 of us. The veins on his forehead popped out. Peibo gritted his teeth and asked, how did you know it was the Collier family? Sir, they all have tattoos of the Collier family, and there are a lot of drugs scattered at the scene. It should be that this wave of people haven't had time to hide. Okay, I get it. The angry Peibo swept everything on the table to the ground, and punched the table with a fist, as if the murderous intent in his eyes was about to overflow. Collier. It seems you have forgotten whose territory this is, and I will make you pay the price. Immediately encircle and suppress the Collier family in the city, life or death. This was the last call Peibo made. Then, in order to prevent the Collier family from jumping over the wall and kidnapping him, he notified the driver to rush to the police station. After all, the security station's defense capabilities were much stronger than his own villa. Lin didn't know about Peibo's anger, but he had expected it. At this moment, Rin is resting in the sewer of the city. Lin knew very well that there was nothing to do at the moment, just wait. The best time to act would be when the security bureau and the gang were completely in chaos. As the night got darker, Huck and several gang members seemed to be waiting for something in a forest. Huck looked at the pocket watch in his hand, and it was obvious from his expression that he was very anxious. At this time, a gangster ran over and said, Brother Huck, news just came out. The police station in the city is arresting us like crazy. Several teams have lost contact. Do you know the reason? Huck replied with a frown. I don't know. Hearing his subordinate's answer, Huck couldn't figure out why the security bureau was having trouble with him. After all, the security bureau and the gangs basically stayed on the same page unless they encountered certain circumstances. Damn it! It must be that nasty brat. Quick! Tell our people to hide as soon as possible. I guess our people can't leave the city now. Huck seemed to have figured out something, and quickly issued instructions with a little anxiety. After ordering his men, Huck continued to look at the pocket watch in his hand as if nothing had happened. He seemed to feel a little more at ease watching the pocket watch in his hand ticking. There was no light in the sewer, and Lin felt that it was almost time, so he slowly opened the manhole cover and walked out. After taking a look at the surrounding situation, under the cover of the night, Lin walked toward the next destination with a long knife in his waist and a suitcase. Carefully avoiding police cars and patrols on the street, the journey should have taken 20 minutes, but it took Lin more than an hour to reach his destination. The port management station is right here, Lin muttered when he saw the sign on the building. When formulating the basic plan, Lin knew that the city gate must be guarded by gang members, and that going there would definitely be a dragon's pool and a tiger's den. Even if he rushed out, he would definitely be seeking death. But there is not only one way to leave the city, there should be three. The airship aviation hall, city gate, and port management station are the only three places where you can leave the city. The city gate was blocked, and the airship Lin couldn't open it, so he had to find a way from the port management station. The port management station is the place where cargo ships entering the city are managed. The gate is opened on time every morning and the port is closed at sunset. Therefore, whether the gate can be opened is the key to Lin's escape. Lin jumped into the river, lifted the suitcase over his head, swam all the way to the gate, reached out and knocked on the gate, a look of understanding on his face. Sure enough, this gate has cut corners. It's made of wood on the inside, but it's just covered with a layer of iron on the outside. So far, Lin's goal has basically been achieved, and his plan can be divided into three parts. Make sure to leave the city through the port management station, rob the underground forces related to the security bureau, and obtain enough explosives. The diversion of trouble caused conflicts between the police station and the gangs, attracting the attention of both parties and making the operation smoother. Finally, blow up the port's gate, and then neither of the two forces playing cat and mouse will pursue you. After planting the explosives, Lin hid in a safe spot on the shore. Boom! With a loud noise, Lin even felt the earthquake on the ground. Looking at the gate that had been blown into a huge gap, Lin took a deep breath, put the long knife at his waist in his mouth, bit it, and jumped without hesitation. Jump into the river. Wide sea diving, sky high the birds to fly. Lin in the water swam desperately out of the city. At this moment, Lin felt an inexplicable sense of accomplishment. This kind of exciting life could not be experienced in the original world. At this moment, Lin was extremely lucky to have come to this world, although this world was not safe. After swimming outside the city, Lin quickly went ashore, put the long knife in his mouth on his waist, and quickly left here without caring about his wet clothes. It was very quiet in the moonlit woods. Suddenly, two car lights illuminated Lin's figure. This sudden surprise startled Lin. Boy! You are really not simple. Huck appeared with a sinister smile, and his men quickly gathered around him. Why are you here? With a slightly cold face, Lin looked serious and instantly grasped the handle of the knife with his right hand. It's not difficult. Combining your purpose with this chaos, it's easy to guess. Huck looked a little proud. After making the gesture, the 5 gang members behind him took out their pistols. Sure enough, is it because the location was exposed when the gate was blown? Lin made a gesture of drawing his sword, knowing very well that life and death were at stake here. Chapter 5. When talking to Huck, Lin had already observed the number of people on the other side. Including Huck, there are 6 people in total, which is exactly the number of people in one car. It is impossible for Huck to bring a rookie together, which proves that these 6 people are all good players. Rin put his hand on the handle of the knife, his brain spinning rapidly, trying to take the most appropriate method based on the existing conditions. Run? It is definitely unrealistic. Running with wet clothes will exhaust your energy. Once your energy is exhausted, your last strength will be nothing more than suicide. Then the only thing left is to fight. After making up his mind, the effect of practicing sword zen for more than 10 years in his previous life was instantly reflected. Calmness instantly filled Lin's heart, and the family's sword skills continued to appear in his mind. The sword technique inherited from the Lin family is called Yingya sword technique. It is easy to learn this sword technique on the outside, but it is difficult to master it. In the previous life, no one in the last 3 generations of the Lin family learned this sword technique. It was indeed because the ancestors were not in a good condition at that time. It's just that the ancestors have ancestral precepts and the inheritance cannot be broken. In addition, the family's conditions were relatively good at that time. Not long after he was born, his parents in the previous life began to take medicinal baths for Lin. The foundation of sword practice is very demanding. In the first 6 years, you take medicinal baths to nourish your body. In the next 5 years, you strengthen your body and improve your foundation. In the next 5 years, you practice physical training and boxing to shape your bones and increase the coordination of your body and muscles. Together with sword meditation, you exercise your mind. Weapons are an extension of the hands and feet, and the last step is to learn sword skills. The central key of Yingyu sword technique is only one word: quick. In conjunction with the special breathing method in the sword technique, from the first cut, each cut must be faster than the last until exhaustion. In Lin's opinion, this is a sword technique that involves facing the enemy head-on, and either the enemy will die or he will die. Faced with the crisis at hand, Lin was extremely grateful that he had not been lazy when he was a child, and thanked his grandfather for always supervising his studies. Should you directly tell me where the gem is now? Or should I let you tell me? Huck took out a short knife, with a very evil expression on his face, looking at Lin with a half-smile. Kill. Holding the handle of the knife with his right hand and making a sudden thrust with his body, Lin roared. Bang! Bang! Several gunshots were fired, but did not hit Lin. Before the sound of gunshots appeared, Lin had already rolled to the left and quickly ran in the opposite direction. For Lin, head-on confrontation is the most unwise choice. He can only occupy unlimited geography and launch guerrilla warfare with the enemy. Seeing Lin running away, Huck and others chased and shot at the same time, but they did not hit Lin because of the obstruction of the trees. Suddenly, Lin jumped into a bush and disappeared, and Huck and others immediately chased him. Boom! When they were chasing into the bushes, an explosion sounded, killing the gang member who was at the front. Huck and one of the gangsters were in the back, as the four in front took most of the damage and only suffered minor injuries. This was the grenade that Lin took away when he was picking up the explosives in Night Gold. Because of the heavy weight, he only took 2 of them. One of them had already been used when forging the scene. Unexpectedly, the remaining one turned out to be of great use. Damn you, brat! You're dead! Huck, who suffered such an attack, was already in a state of rage. Unexpectedly, the duck that was about to be eaten had the ability to resist. An explosion disrupted Huck's rhythm. While the two were distracted, Lin had already gone around behind them. Advance! Draw the knife! Cut! Silver-white sword light flashed, and the head of the younger brother behind Huck was chopped off directly. But Lin's attack did not stop, and the second knife struck Huck with lightning speed. Ding! Although he had experienced a near-death escape and his subordinates died due to lack of reaction, Huck was not a vegetarian after spending so many years in the Collier family. The short sword in his right hand blocked Lin's slash, but he underestimated the power of Lin's slash and was knocked away. Naturally, Lin would not let go of this opportunity to beat the drowned dog, and jumped up without giving Huck a chance to breathe. The moment he blocked Lin's sword, Huck already knew that he would never be Lin's opponent. When he was knocked away, Huck used the only time he had to reach into his pocket and hold the pocket watch. Huck bought this pocket watch from the Collier family at a great price. Huck didn't know its specific function. The man who gave Huck the pocket watch simply said that he should crush it if his life was in danger. Boom! When Huck's body hit the tree, his left hand had already crushed the pocket watch in his pocket. At this time, Lin was rushing towards Huck with a knife, but suddenly Lin noticed that Huck's expression was wrong. Huck's horrified eyes seemed to be telling something, and Huck's body gradually aged in the blink of an eye. Of course, Lin noticed the changes in Huck, but there was no way this situation was too weird and beyond his scope of cognition. However, this did not affect Lin's determination to kill Huck. With one slash, Huck's head flew up, and the rest of his body instantly turned into ashes. Run! The scene was so weird. This was Lin's only thought after killing Huck. Not long after Lin ran out, a black gas floated out from Huck's ashes and flew towards the direction Lin left at extremely fast speed. Quick! Quick! Faster! Lin, who was leaving, felt surrounded by a strong sense of crisis when Huck died, and now he just wanted to leave here as soon as possible. Suddenly, Lin, who was running, felt that his body had lost the ability to move, and he fell directly to the ground. A sharp pain spread from his heart throughout his body, completely breaking Lin's ability to bear pain, and his vision went black and he fainted. Under the moonlight, the forest seemed even quieter. Not long after Lin fainted, 2 footsteps broke the silence of the forest. Master Biscay, we came too late. A man wearing a white shirt and glasses said with a hint of blame. There's nothing I can do. Jung, that auction is really important to me, but fortunately I didn't go to it in vain. A well-sculpted blonde Lolita responded to Jung like a coquettish girl, but there was no trace of regret on her face. Soon the two followed the footsteps and came to the place where Lin fainted. That's right, it's Ryan Pest, the target this time. Yoon-gu took out the photo and compared it with Ryan's face. Let's see if there's anything we need on him. After saying that, Bisguy reached out and touched Lean. When Bisji's hand was about to touch Lean, a black energy of thought suddenly surged from Lean's body. Bisji was so frightened that he immediately pulled his hand away, and he and Yoon-gu quickly retreated 5 meters away. Congeal. Focusing his mental energy on his eyes, Bisguy observed the black mental energy in Lean's body. Bisji observed Yoon-gu next to him for a while and said, "It is a parasitic thought energy, which should be similar to a curse. It is currently devouring his life. You must not come into contact with it, otherwise it will be affected. What should we do, Master Bisguy?" Yoon-gu replied questioningly. "It's definitely impossible to lift it. It can still be done by suppressing it." As he spoke, Bisguy walked up to Lean and released a large amount of thought energy from his hands, pouring into Lean's body. "Okay. Let's take him back to Young. The cost of my action is not cheap." Yoon-gu nodded, put Lean on his shoulders, and the three of them slowly disappeared into the woods. Chapter 6. This is where Rin woke up from a coma and felt extremely weak. He raised his head and looked around. It seemed to be an apartment. Thinking about his previous experiences, Lean felt that he was still careless and he really couldn't underestimate anyone. Unexpectedly, his plan would be discovered at a critical moment, and Lean was sure that his coma and Huck's miserable state must be related to his telekinesis ability. Da-da! 2 footsteps sounded, and Lean raised his eyes to look at the door. As the door opened, a blonde Lolita and a young man with glasses appeared in front of Lean. "Isn't this Bisji and Young?" Lean couldn't help but be surprised. These two were special characters of the Hunter x Hunter. "Young man, are you awake? Can I have some questions?" It was Yoon-gu who spoke, and his tone was very gentle, as if he was the big brother next door. "What do you want to ask?" Lean stood up and sat back on the bed. He knew that these two people must have saved him, and the current situation was definitely the safest time in the short time he had transmigrated. Yoon-gu said directly without beating around the bush, "You should know something about the stars in the night sky, right?" Lean gave a bitter smile and thought to himself, "A single gem can harm me like this. Even though I finally escaped the pursuit, I still can't escape from that gem." Lean fell into silence for a while. Yoon-gu on the side didn't say anything, and looked at Lean quietly, wondering what was going on in his mind. "Brother, we really want to get that gem, please help us." Bisguy couldn't help it anymore. For a gem hunter, the temptation of precious gems is self-evident. Hearing the clipping sound made by Bisji, Lean felt goosebumps all over his body, and even felt nauseous. "Haha! If I hadn't known that you are a 57-year-old muscular lady, I would have almost believed you." Bisguy looked at Lean with his big watery eyes, and Lean didn't dare to look away. "Although I don't know where the gem is, but this thing may be related to the gem." After speaking, Lean took off a wooden pendant from his neck and threw it directly to Bisji. Bisguy caught the necklace and said with a smile, "Brother, are you really good at joking? We have already checked it, this is just an ordinary wooden pendant. You two should be professional hunters, right? And you should be the leader, right? Miss." Lean already knew the identities of the two people, but he couldn't expose them too obviously and could only ask some tentative questions. After asking the question, Lean's 3 golden questions confused Bisji and Young. Then Bisji replied, "The real hunter is this big brother, and I am just an ordinary little girl. That's all." Regarding Bisji's answer, Ryan did not reply, but looked at Bisji with a smile. "You act. You continue to act." Bisguy understood the meaning of Lean's expression and couldn't help but become angry. "Don't worry, just listen to me first." Lean had read the original work and was familiar with the characters of the two people, so he patiently explained them without asking them charades. "As far as I know, the people who are looking for this gem are gangs. I don't know which gang specifically. As for my appearance here, it proves that you are not a gangster. I happen to have heard of a kind of hunter who specializes in pursuing beautiful gems." "Miss Gem Hunter, don't you think so?" Bisguy said unconvinced. "Yes. We are both gem hunters." "No, only you are. Because from the moment you enter the room, on the surface it is the handsome guy with glasses who is in charge, but in fact you are the real leader." After speaking, Lean smiled mysteriously and said, "Because your eyes light up when you hear the word gem." A very simple analysis made Yoon-gu and Bisji deeply realize that the young man in front of them was not simple. "Okay. It's exactly what you said, but it has nothing to do with gems. Biscay stopped acting and asked the key question seriously. Lin said with a firm expression, "It does matter. Miss, let's make a deal about gems." Reen looked at Bisji with serious eyes, which made Bisji couldn't help but become serious. "Please teach me the ability to read, and the price is gems. Although I don't know where the stars in the night sky are, but I can repay you 1,000 times. Haha. Little brother, although I don't know where you know about telekinesis, it's not a small promise." Biscay's tone of voice was slightly teasing, but Lin's words clearly attracted her interest. "I really don't know where that gem is. But the only clue I have right now is the pendant." Lin looked at the pendant and his tone was very sincere. Pendant. Bisji and Yungu both had question marks on their faces. To know the method of distinguishing treasures, anyone with telekinesis ability has mastered one thing, which is to use condensation to see the chi present on the item. Any item with mental energy on it must be carefully crafted by the maker, integrating his own life energy into it. As long as it is a valuable item, there will definitely be a lot of energy on it. Hearing this, Bisji and Yung looked at the pendant with Ning together. The pendant still looked ordinary, with no change. At this time, Lin's words rang out at the right time. "Didn't you two realize that the weight of this pendant is very strange?" Hearing Lin's words, Bisji and Yungu suddenly understood and picked up the pendant again to look at it. This pendant has always been on the person in the memory of the original person. When Lin checked his body before, he found that the weight of the pendant did not look like a wooden structure at all. At that time, because he was being chased, he didn't think much about it. But now that I needed gems to trade with Biscay, I had to try the possibility of hiding gems in the pendant. I know. It's the divine word. Biscay suddenly seemed to think of something, and a large amount of purple thought energy emerged from his hand and rushed towards the pendant. Ka! Ka! There was a shattering sound, and the wooden structure on the pendant shattered into powder. Biscay blew lightly to disperse the powder, and a black gem appeared. The moment he saw the gem, Bisji jumped up excitedly, and there seemed to be countless little stars in his eyes. Yes! Yes! That's right! This is the legendary gem. The stars in the night sky, and the carat diamonds in the black gemstone are actually naturally occurring. So beautiful! Bisji looked at the gem in his hand with obsessed eyes, and it seemed that he would not be able to recover for a while. Lin and Yungu looked at each other, and both smiled helplessly. Suddenly Yungu seemed to have thought of something and said, "Lin, your body is possessed by parasitic thoughts, and they are cursed thoughts." Chapter 7. So that's it. Is there any solution? Although he had known that his coma was due to his telekinesis ability, Lin's face was still a little gloomy. "You look quite calm. I thought you would lose your composure." Yungu looked at Lin, becoming more and more curious about this young man. Haha. Now that something has happened, how to solve it is the most important thing. Instead of messing up, it's better to think of a solution. After Lin finished speaking, he changed his mind and said, "What can you do? I have suppressed your thoughts, but this is only temporary. Of course there are solutions, but..." Biscay's eyes did not leave the gem, but her tone of voice was obviously arrogant. Lin felt helpless about this. Having read the original work, he naturally knew what Biscay meant. "So, beautiful and lovely little gem hunter, what can you do?" Lin suppressed his nausea. He really didn't understand why this 57-year-old lowly had such a bad taste. Should he be considered a transformation type? Of course there is a way. Also, my name is Biscay Kurika, and that one over there is my apprentice Yungu. Biscay put away the gem and introduced it to Lin. Such a beautiful and lovely master Biscay, what should we do now? In the spirit of doing it and saying it a few more times without dying, Lin once again went against his own will. As for the issue of mindfulness, of course you have to find a mindfulness master to eliminate it. Bisji smiled proudly, and one could tell from her expression that she was suffering from arrogance. Mind Eliminator. Lin couldn't help but murmur, and information about the mind-killing master among Hunter x Hunter kept popping up in his mind. The mind killer is one of the most popular professions in the world of Hunter x Hunter. Each of them has the ability to remove other people's minds, the most typical of which is the mind after death. Of course, not all thoughts can be removed by the mind-killing master. The cost of removing thoughts is very high. The cost of forcibly removing some strong thoughts will make the mind-killing master himself unbearable. The protagonist of the original work, J. Fulis, forcibly used the power of oaths and restrictions, and his powerful countermind made the mind-killing master change his face. Does Master Biscay know Master Nianji? To be on the safe side, Lin asked anyway. As far as Lin knew, the conditions for becoming a telepathic master in the world of Hunter x Hunters were very demanding, and not even one person with telekinesis abilities would be able to emerge out of 10,000. Of course, I don't know him. Bisji said confidently. After hearing this, Lin covered his face with his hands, while Yungu turned his head slightly to the outside, as if such a master was a little embarrassed. Hey! What do you mean by this expression? Although I don't know you, it doesn't mean you can't invite me. Seeing the expressions of the two people, Biscay became a little anxious and explained to them. Is it relying on the power of the Hunter Association? Lin asked. Bingo, I will announce the reward in the Hunter Association. In addition, the Hunter Association has a special mind killer, but I can't guarantee that the appointment will be made. He gave a thumbs up to Lin, and then Biscay explained again. Then how long can I hold on? Lin asked the most crucial question. Biscay thought for a while and said, there will still be no problem in half a year. Then when can I start learning to chant? This is the second most critical issue. Lin has not forgotten that there is a prison bound to his body, and the condition for the next stage is awakening. You should have a good rest first. The matter of telekinesis is not urgent. Let Yungu explain telekinesis to you first, and finally look at your choice. Biscay glanced at Lin, opened the door and walked out, passing the question to Yungu. Okay. Master Biscay. Lin replied and turned to look at Yungu. Yungu twitched his lips and said, you should have a good rest first. Tomorrow we will start learning the basic theory of Nian. After Yungu finished speaking, he left the room, and Lin also closed his eyes and rested. In less than 2 days since he traveled back in time, he had experienced too many things, which made Lin very tired both physically and mentally, and he fell into a deep sleep in the blink of an eye. Yungu left the room and went directly to Bisji. Master Biscay, what do you think of Lin? I'm still not sure if he has evil intentions. Yungu said with a slight worry. Bisji's attention was completely absent from Yungu at the moment, and he just looked at the gem blankly. Gorgeous! A series of question marks appeared on Yungu's head, and he covered his forehead with one hand, feeling very helpless. Yungu had no choice but to sit across from Bisji. He knew that Bisji was completely immersed in his own world in this state and could only wait for her to come out. Time passed by, and Biscay finally came back to his senses, stretched out, and a satisfied expression was fully expressed on his face. Yungu, why are you here? Bisji saw Yungu sitting opposite and was a little surprised why Yungu was here. When Yungu heard Bisji's question, he immediately said, Master Bisji, I have been waiting for you here for 2 hours. Cough, cough. What's going on in Yung? Bisji was obviously embarrassed, but Yungu didn't take it seriously and asked the question in person. Master Biscay, regarding Rin, are we sure we want to teach her the ability to read? Yungu's voice was serious, and Bisji also understood Yungu's concerns. Biscay admired this disciple but also had a headache. Although Yungu is good at everything he does, and he is one of those with outstanding qualifications among Xi and Yuan Lu, there is one thing that Bisij doesn't like very much. He does things too seriously. Biscay thought for a while and said, I understand your worries Yung, but it's obvious that Rin is not the kind of person you imagined. But Master Biscay, Lin is only 12 years old. A 12-year-old boy turned this city upside down and killed many people. It's not safe to think about it. Yungu smiled bitterly when he heard this, but still expressed his worries. Yungu, your worries are completely unnecessary. Then Bisji sighed and said, 12 years old. It is really a perfect piece of rough jade. After polishing it carefully, what kind of beautiful color will it bloom? Seeing Bisji's appearance, Yungu was completely helpless and said, Master Bisji, I really can't trust Lin. Biscay rubbed her head. She really couldn't figure out why she had to find an enhancement system as a disciple in the first place. It was still too troublesome to explain. Yungu, why do you insist on either/or? Do you think that a 12-year-old boy can do better than him when his life is in danger? And according to the information we have collected, Lin, not an innocent person, was killed. Biscay explained what Rin had done, and then said with certainty, not only will I teach her the ability to read, but I will also invite him to join the Xinjiang stream. What? Yungu was completely shocked at this time. He didn't expect that this guy would bring Lin into his heartstream, and it was an invitation. Hemp, hemp. Don't worry, Jung. Lin is a very smart man. You can ask him many questions. I think except for some things he doesn't want to say, he will tell you. It's up to you to judge the details. Bisji left a few words and left, leaving Yungu alone deep in thought. Yungu has been following Bisji for a long time. He has never heard his master speak so highly of a person. And he just pushed the problem back to himself, right? Let's see what happens tomorrow. I hope Lin is not a person with evil intentions. Chapter 8. Early the next morning, Yungu took breakfast and opened the door of Lin's room. What caught his eye was Lin's shirtless figure. In Yungu's eyes, Lin was doing a set of strange movements. Lin noticed it the moment someone opened the door, but he also knew that it was absolutely safe here and did not stop his actions. This was Lin's previous life. In order to increase the foundation of learning swordsmanship, he practiced a bodybuilding boxing method called Tiger Bone Bodybuilding Boxing. This boxing method has a total of 13 bodybuilding movements and 3 styles of boxing. Farin has already mastered these movements in boxing, but years of habit still make him practice diligently. Yungu did not disturb Lin, but put the breakfast in his hand on the table and said, I will wait for you in the living room. After breakfast, we will start studying. Lin heard it, but remained unmoved and completed various actions meticulously. After doing several actions, Lin discovered that this body might have been transformed from the prison, and it had terrifying potential. It took Rin 6 years in his previous life to complete a complete set of movements. Although he is now weak, he does not feel tired at all after doing it. After taking a shower, Rin finished his breakfast with satisfaction. When he went out to the living room, Lin saw Yungu at a glance, and there was a white reminder board next to Yungu. Sitting across from Yungu, Lin couldn't wait to start contacting with telekinesis ability after all. Lin, can I ask you a few questions before we start studying? Yungu showed a smile like the big brother next door. What's the problem? Rin asked curiously. Based on your previous experience, what do you think? I hope you can answer me seriously. Yungu's expression did not change, he was still like the big brother next door, as if this question was just a simple chat. Lin pondered, is it an idea? Lin, who had read the original work, naturally knew what Yungu meant by asking this question, but he still had to be sincere when dealing with others, even though the other party was a hard-nosed person in the reinforcement department. If it happens again, I will still choose to kill them. Even if they are old, weak, women and children, I will not let them go as long as they are dangerous to me. This speech clearly shocked Yungu, and he stood up from his chair. A pair of eyes like the brother next door became cold and serious, and even the thought energy on his body fluctuated a little. Faced with this sudden change in Jung, Lin felt a strong sense of oppression and even heard his own heartbeat. As expected. You are not someone I can trust. Your existence is too dangerous. In Lin's ears, Yungu's words had too much murderous intent, and he couldn't help but secretly regretted it. Why should he talk about strengthening the system? Wait, Yungu. This guy's voice appeared at the right time, interrupting Yungu's momentum and giving Lin some room to breathe. Master Bisji, this guy's thoughts and actions are too dangerous. If such a guy masters Nian, he will definitely go astray. Yungu shouted to Bisji. Bisji looked at Yungu seriously and said, 3 minutes, please calm down first. After hearing Bisji's words, Yungu sat on the chair again and fell silent, but the murderous intention in his body did not decrease by half. I shocked you, Lin. Bisji said apologetically. It's okay, no problem. After taking a few breaths, Lin felt that his condition was a little better. The feeling of being oppressed to death just now was really terrible. When he leaned on the sofa, he felt that his clothes were already wet with sweat. At this moment, the living room of the apartment fell into silence. Cough, cough. Although the time was less than 3 minutes, Lin still broke the silence, and instantly looked at Lin with 2 eyes at the same time. I can understand why Mr. Yungu wants to kill me. He is afraid that I will become a terrible criminal after becoming a telepathic person. Then Lin changed his subject and said, but what I did was just to protect myself. I have my own concept of good and evil. I only kill those who deserve to be killed. I will not implicate innocent people. If one day I die in the hands of others, no matter what the other person's purpose is, I will only resent my own weakness. After all, being weak is the original sin. Lin smiled and sighed. Anyway, he had already said it here. I believe Yungu should understand what he meant. Original sin? That's a very interesting answer. After hearing Lin's words, Yungu seemed to think of something and started to think. Okay. I admit that I was a little impulsive just now, and I apologize to you. As an enhancement type, Yungu has always been straightforward in his behavior, but through this conversation, he also gained a more intuitive understanding of Lin. At the same time, Yungu also understood why Biscay believed in Rin. Because this 12-year-old boy is so mature that he can understand what he wants, has a calm and clear mind, and will never do anything that cannot be turned back. Rin shrugged, proving that he didn't take what had just happened to his mind. Now that the misunderstanding has been resolved, before Lin learns to read, I would like to ask you a question. A big question mark appeared above Lin's head, and he couldn't understand why today was all about asking questions. The question just now almost made Yungu kill him, but now this question seems to be more dangerous. Can you not answer? Cough, cough. Cannot. Lin was a little helpless, Yungu was a little embarrassed, and Bisji's tone was very firm. Okay. Just ask. At this moment, there were people under the roof, and Lin felt like he had to lower his head. Lin, are you willing to join the Shinjin flow? Biscay asked formally, and Lin was surprised. How could Lin not know about the heart origin style? It was the strongest hunter in the hunter world and the sect founded by Nitro, the current president of the Hunter Guild. Moreover, the selection process for entering the sect was very strict. Of course I do. Lin replied without hesitation. In Lin's choice, as long as he is not out of his mind, he will not choose to refuse. You want to know what is the most important thing about hanging out? Strength and background. One of the strongest backgrounds in the world is now in front of you. If you refuse, your brain will be eaten by zombies. Then you are a disciple of Shinjin Ryu. Biscay was very satisfied, not only with Lin's people, but also with his unhesitating attitude. It's a pity that Biscay didn't know it clearly. Lin knew the background of Shinjin Ryu and was so straightforward. Otherwise, anyone else would have to ask what Shinjin Ryu was. Then I won't disturb you. I'll call the leader first and explain. Biscay left after saying that, and the leader of the faction she mentioned was of course Nitro. Chapter 9. Then let's get started. Hearing Yungu's voice, Lin sat up slightly, knowing that from this moment on, Yungu and Bisji began to regard him as one of their own. Nian refers to the life energy emitted from the human body. After you open your own spiritual holes through practice, you can practice the four major elements of mindfulness, entanglement, absoluteness, practice. Following Yungu's explanation, Lin finally realized the first wave of benefits of joining Shinjin Ryu. Lin still knows the basic understanding of Nian after reading the original work. Looking at various systems in countless dimensions, the ability to read is a very unique one. It is a model that is easy to learn but difficult to master. With a teacher to guide you, you can avoid many detours. Fa is an ability developed based on the system to which one's own thought energy belongs. After Yungu explained the principles of Nian, he also explained the four basic elements of Nian. Then Lin, now let's make your choice, whether to open your mind through practice, or whether I will help you to open your mind forcibly. After saying that, Yungu was very curious about what choice Lin would make. After all, there was a huge difference between having a powerful power in front of him and being able to get it with your hands, and taking time to hone it slowly. Lin slowly fell into deep thought. Lin knew the two methods of thinking. The first is systematic learning. Through meditation, you gradually feel the existence of qi and slowly open your own sperm holes. This is a method of following rules. Opening your mind in this way has no side effects and is called the right path. The second method is to allow those with mind ability to use mind to forcefully open the sperm pores, and use condensation to control the qi immediately, thereby awakening mind. This method is also called baptism in the sky arena. Because this method can easily lead to insufficient foundation for people whose physical fitness is not up to standard, resulting in slow progress in future practice, it is called an evil path. Lin understands the importance of the foundation very well. Even if he follows the original plot, he will not choose to force the reading. Moreover, as a transmigrator, Rin relied on the advantage of foresight, and naturally wanted to maximize this advantage. After thinking about it, Lin slowly said, I choose to recite on my own, and if I recite forcibly, there will definitely be side effects. It will definitely be much more difficult to make up for those side effects after reciting than on my own. Bingo! Lin, you are really mature. This is a little test for you. Yungu smiled, and the expression on his face clearly showed that he recognized Lin a lot. Then what we have to do now is to increase your physical strength. After all, the stronger the body, the stronger the potential energy and manifest energy after enlightenment. If you feel your physical fitness is strong enough, you can directly perceive and open your sperm holes through meditation. After Yungu finished speaking, he walked to the table aside and poured a glass of water and drank it. After talking a lot, he was really thirsty. Lin thought for a while, and he felt that the physical strength mentioned by Yungu was completely out of his consideration. This body was already very strong after being transformed in prison. Then, meditate and think. With a flash of light in his eyes, Lin already had an idea. What do you think? Yungu came over and asked after drinking the water. Lin replied thoughtfully, I have some ideas, but they still need to be put into practice. Yungu naturally knows that Lin never does anything he is not sure about. At present, the basic knowledge that Lin needs most has been given to him. Naturally, other Yungu will not ask more questions. Moreover, if Lin really needs it, he will naturally come to him. Okay then. If you don't understand anything, just ask me. After saying that, Yungu left here, and Lin, who was meditating on the sofa, finally determined the general direction. Not long after Yungu left, Lin also returned to his room, sat cross-legged on the bed like an old monk in meditation, and slowly emptied his heart. Sword Zen is a practice method that Lin insisted on for more than 10 years in his previous life. The purpose of constantly drawing and swinging the sword in your mind is to improve your mental strength, reduce unnecessary movements, and strengthen the control of the sword. And now Lin meditates using the Sword Zen method, but there is no longer drawing and swinging the sword in his mind. It didn't take long for Lin to enter a mysterious realm, which seemed to be the comfort of soaking in a hot spring, or the warmth of his mother's arms. Before he knew it, Lin was immersed in it. Suddenly, Lin felt that the warmth was getting hotter and hotter, and seemed to be out of control, so he exited this state. This is... Yungu, who was in his room, felt a strange thought burst out from Lin's room and rushed into Lin's room instantly. Looking at Yungu rushing into the room, Lin was not surprised. He just raised his hand and looked at the gas that was constantly being lost from his body. Is this Nian Qi? Seeing the loss of thought energy, Lin kept missing the warm feeling just now. Idiot! Wrap up your Nian Qi quickly, otherwise you will be exhausted. Yungu roared loudly, even using the power of Nian. Lin, who was startled, lost all thoughts of observation for a moment and began to wrap his mind energy with a wrapper. The lost mind energy was blocked in an instant. Well, it's just like wearing clothes, it has a slight warm feeling. Lin, who was wrapped in Niankai, commented. You are really, we have only been apart for 30 minutes, and you are already reading. Seeing Lin like this, Yungu didn't want to say anything. Recalling that it took nearly a month for me to reach enlightenment through cultivation, I was still called a disciple with first-class talent in Shinjin-ryu. Some of them were shocked. If that's the case, then Lin, let's start learning to practice the ultimate practice. Yungu saw that Lin had mastered mating and planned to give him all the practical methods of the 4 basic elements of recitation today. 3. I didn't expect that you actually realized the condensation on your own. Yungu looked at Lin in surprise, with an expression of disbelief. It's nothing, senior brother Jung, it's just an attempt. Lin got up and moved his body, then went to the living room with Yungu to learn the application skills of Nian. As the sun set, this guy came back from the morning. The moment he opened the door and saw Lin, he showed a surprised expression. At this time, Lin was sweating and was continuing to practice. What a strong mind! This was Bisji's only thought at this time, and then he looked at Yungu angrily. Did you force him to read? This guy certainly had her reasons for thinking so. After all, Lin was still an ordinary person in the morning, but turned into a telepathic person at night. It must be Jung's doing. Yungu smiled bitterly and said, of course not, he started thinking on his own, about 30 minutes after I finished explaining. Then Yungu pointed at Lin, this guy is a monster. He has been practicing for more than 3 hours. It's 4 hours now, senior brother Jung. Rin was exhausted when he spoke, sat down on the ground, and read out the symbols formed by Yungu's hand. On the first day you wake up and read, you can maintain it for 3 hours. Lin, you are really an incredible piece of jade. Bisji said with shining eyes. Yes. Master Bisgai, at first I had some comparison thoughts, but then, now I was really shocked. Yungu's voice was a little helpless, and he picked up the towel and water prepared nearby and walked towards Lin. Thank you. Drinking the water handed over by Yungu, Lin gradually regained some strength and wiped the sweat from his head. Lin, I have news about you when I go out today. Which one do you want to hear first, the good news or the bad news? Bisgui said with a hint of teasing. Chapter 10. Good news. After hearing Lin's answer, Bisgui said, the good news is that the Collier family who are chasing you have been ordered by the Security Bureau not to enter the city again. Lin said calmly, is it the Collier family who is chasing me? What about the bad news? Bisgui chuckled, the bad news is that the Collier family has issued a pursuit order for you, and the leader of the Collier family personally issued it. After listening, Lin frowned and said, I can understand the issue of a pursuit order, but why did the clan leader personally issue it? Bisgui explained, it's because Monty, the second son of the Collier family, led 200 people from the family to arrest you, but failed. This is a slap in the face of the Collier family. You know gangsters care about face the most. Okay. It's already a life and death situation anyway, let's just let the Fatway die. Rin replied indifferently. Call me during dinner and I'll go back to my room and take a rest. Lin said simply and returned to the room under the watchful eyes of Bisji and Yungu. Yungu watched Lin enter the room and said to Bisgai, Master Bisgai, is Lin really only 12 years old? Sometimes I feel that he is so calm that he hardly seems like a human being. Yes, you are right, but this is the kind of person that makes Rin a reliable person. Lin will never do anything that violates his principles. This is why I insisted on inviting him to join the Shinzen Ryu. I really look forward to the brilliance of this rough stone in the end. Bisgai looked at Lin's door, with bright lights flashing in his eyes. After entering the room, Lin could finally explore the condition of his body. When he was awakening, there was a stream of information pouring into Lin's mind, but Lin didn't have time to check it. After checking the information, Lin finally understood where the information came from, which was the prison he was bound to. Although the prison did not play a role in the transmigrating, Lin firmly believed that a person with a golden finger might become very strong by getting something for nothing, but he was definitely not a strong man. In Lin's opinion, the principle that a truly strong person believes in is equal exchange. You will get what you pay for. You must stick to your own principles and never betray yourself. Killing is not the only way to deal with enemies, but it is the best way to resolve disputes. The information given by the prison was very simple, that is, Lin had unlocked the permission to enter the prison, and also unlocked the warden's room and the prison. Lin could enter these two places at any time as long as he wanted to. Then the prison told Rin that he had awakened a prison skill called Prison Controller. Prison Controller can perfectly use the abilities of the 6 major departments and exert 100% of their power. This skill is extremely simple and crude, which means that Lin can exert 100% of the abilities of the 6 major systems without being restricted by the ability chart. In the original work, Kurapika uses the flaming eyes, and the absolute time it is turned on is this mode, but every second it is turned on consumes an hour of life. This is an absolute time without side effects. After suppressing his excitement, Lin disappeared from the room as soon as his mind moved. In the blink of an eye, they arrived at a place that looked like an office, but there was nothing else in this place except a set of desks and chairs and a row of empty bookshelves. The warden's room was empty. According to the information just given by the prison, this was originally the place where the warden rested, and Lin didn't have any expectations for it. When you come to the prison, you will see rows of cells. These cells can be adjusted in size by the warden, but this function is basically of little use. The information from the prison comes at the right time. The function of the prison is that when the prisoner is successfully admitted to prison, he will fall into an illusion and remain asleep unless the prison warden wakes him up. The sleeping prisoner will continue to emit life essence to nourish the warden until the prisoner dies. When he saw this piece of information, even though he was as calm as Lin, his heart couldn't help but beat wildly. Life essence means all the essence of a person's life. When Lin is nourished by life essence for a long time, Lin's lifespan and thoughts will increase astonishingly. Of course, the most important thing is lifespan. It can be seen that the strongest hunter, President Nitro, was limited by his body and lifespan when fighting the Ant King. As a result, he was defeated in the end and could only use the Baron Rose to die together. Suddenly, Lin had a bold idea. As long as he kept arresting criminals and nourished by a large amount of life essence, would his lifespan become infinite? Shaking his head, Lin ignored his previous thoughts. The last message from the prison was to tell Lin that the requirement for the next level was 100 sin points, and he also thoughtfully gave Lin a message template. Warden, Ryan Purst. Age, 12 years old. Prison level, level 1. Prison skills, Eye of Judgment, Prison Controller. Prison facilities, Warden's Room, Jail. Lifespan, 70 years. Sin value, 0. After taking a look at his information template, Lin noticed that he only had a lifespan of 70 years. Yes, that's right. He only has a lifespan of 70 years, which means Lin can live to be 82 years old. This is normal for people with normal mental abilities. But is Rin a normal telepathic person? Rin was convinced that even if he didn't have the will to awaken, his body had been transformed just by the prison. Lin touched his chest, and sure enough the problem appeared on you. When he was maintaining practice before, Lin could feel that there was always a slight sense of disharmony in his heart when he activated the thought. It was the parasitic curse that was placed on Huck when he killed Huck. I have to ask Bisji about the Mind Master later. Sensing the sharp knife hanging above his head, Lin hoped that Bisguy would find the mind killer as soon as possible, otherwise it would be really difficult to sleep peacefully. After a brief walk around the prison, Lin returned to the room. At this moment, Lin had no time to think about anything else and started his own sword meditation. Because his mood had fluctuated so much just now, Lin couldn't calm down at all. Until Yungu called for dinner, his excited mood was simply suppressed. This led to the fact that when Lin ate, not only the rice smelled good, but the prison's functions and skills also smelled good. Master Bisguy, how's the matter with Master Chu Nian? After the meal, Lin asked the question that troubled him most. Chapter 11. I have posted the bounty information in the Hunter Association and have already said hello to the faction leader, but there has been no reply yet. Bisguy knew Lin's worries, but the career of a telepathic master was really hard to find. And what Bisguy didn't tell Lin was that there was no need to consider the Hunter Association. The Hunter Association's exclusive mind killer had retired to seclusion due to physical reasons. It doesn't matter, I can feel that I can still suppress it for a long time. Rin smiled. Bisji and Jung knew what Lin meant by saying this, but they just didn't want them to worry, but they didn't know what to say, so there was a silence in the living room at this moment. Lin, now that you have awakened your mind, do you know what type of mind power user you are? Finally, it was Bisguy who broke the awkward atmosphere of silence. Hearing Bisji's inquiry, Yungu said, Lin has been practicing the 4 major practices since he opened his mind. He has not yet tested the water-seeing technique. Let's test it and see. I'm also curious about what type of ability user I am. Although he possesses the prison skill Prison Controller and knows that he can use all 6 major systems, Lin is still prepared to go through the process in order to cause unnecessary trouble. Not long after, Yungu prepared the water-like props, a glass of water with a green leaf floating on it. Shuijian Shiki is a method of distinguishing the attributes of thoughts created by our Shinzen Ryu. Injecting thought energy into the cup will. In order to help Lin understand the attributes of mind better, Yungu patiently explained it. Yungu's explanation is very different from what Lin knows. The concept system is determined based on the phenomenon of Shuijian Shiki, which is roughly as follows. Strengthening system increased water volume. Change system the taste of water changes. Realization system crystals appear in water. Release system watercolor change. Operating system, the blades move. Trait system, different from the above phenomena, they all belong to the trait system. After Yungu finished explaining, Lin put his hand on the cup and injected his mind energy. He was also curious about what would happen if he had exclusive prison skills. As Lin slowly injected his mind energy, the cup slowly changed. The leaves and water were evenly divided into 6 parts, without interfering with each other in the water cup. Suddenly, there was a bang and the water cup fell into pieces. It seems that Lin is a special ability user, a very rare attribute. Bisguy said while looking at the exploding water cup. Then Yungu said, is it a trait? You have a very individualistic personality, which suits you very well. I didn't expect it to be a trait type either. With a casual remark, Lin knew very well that the phenomenon he had just witnessed was caused by the prison controller. It seems that it is not only a skill, but also a talent, control. Thinking about the changes in the prison, Lin suddenly seemed to think of something. Since Lin knows that it is a trait system, what are your thoughts on the development of abilities? Biscay had an idea and asked, mainly because she was also curious about what kind of telekinesis ability Rin would create. Hearing this, Yungu said anxiously, Master Biscay, Lin just started reading today, and it's too early to start research now. No, Yungu. I knew just now when I saw Lin's Nen that Lin's foundation is absolutely solid. And even if I asked Lin to develop his Nen ability now, Lin wouldn't do it given his personality. Sig replied very confidently. Fa. In fact, Lin had already been thinking about what kind of telekinesis ability to create in the room before. As a transmigrator, Lin knew that this was his greatest advantage. Following his previous life, he had many ability templates of different systems in his mind, and all of them had extremely high upper limits. I originally thought about making abilities like the Glittering King's Treasure, the 3-color Haki in One Piece, or Aizen's Kyoka Suijutsu, but later Lin gave up on this idea. Lin thought for a moment and said, I don't have a clue yet. But now I want to go to the Sky Arena to fight with telekinesis people, but my identity is too sensitive now. Regarding the development of Nian, Lin couldn't figure it out for a while, but he asked another troublesome question. This is easy. Bang! Biscay snapped his fingers and said, Come out, Miss Cookie. After a surge of thought, a long-legged sister with pink hair appeared. This is my magic beautician with telekinesis. You can call her Miss Cookie. Biscarius said with some pride. Hello, Miss Cookie. Hello, little brother Lin. After saying hello to Miss Cookie, Lin became curious about the mind beast and couldn't tell whether it was life or a polymer of mind energy. Lin asked with confusion, Then how can you help me? Master Biscay. Biscay said proudly, My telekinesis ability can not only help a tired body regain its strength, but it can also beautify your face. It can still make some modifications to your face. Lin suddenly realized it, and he understood immediately when he looked at Biscay's face. Since Miss Cookie can transform Biscay, a 57-year-old muscular and violent woman, into this, it is not easy to cover up her appearance a little. Please come and lie down here, little brother Lin. Miss Cookie's voice was a bit charming. Those who knew she was helping Lin change his appearance, but those who didn't knew she thought she was providing some special service. Lin received the service from Miss Cookie. Although he only received a facial massage, the feeling of comfort was something Lin had never experienced in his previous life. Lin originally thought that Miss Cookie would change her appearance to be ordinary and simple, but she didn't expect that the modified face would be even more handsome than her original face. Sure enough, he looks a lot more handsome. Lin praised as he looked at his handsome face in the mirror. While Lin was immersed in his new look, Bisc came over with a camera. Lin, look here. Lin turned his head and heard a click, and a photo popped up on Biscay's camera. Holding Lin's photo, Biscay flicked it and said, Perfect, just use it as identification. Then I'll trouble you, Master Biscay. Lin sincerely thanked Biscay. From time traveling to the present, regardless of the gems, Biscay really helped Lin a lot. Biscay smiled slightly and said, You're welcome, Lin. The favor fee is 10 kiwis, and the identity certificate is 20 kiwis. Not a penny less. Ha, ha, don't worry, Master Biscay. Lin said with a smile. After a day of practice, Lin still had no idea about the development of telekinesis ability. Biscay had already found Lin with his identity certificate. This is your new identity, Rin Sparrow. You are the descendant of a hidden martial arts school. After taking the ID card from Biscay's hand, Lin glanced at the photo above and said, I remember it. Chapter 12. The Sky Arena is a holy place for fighters in a landmark building in the city, and Rin is queuing up to register. Please fill in your identity information here. After verification by the system, your competition time will be displayed on the screen in the lobby. Please arrive at the designated location at the specified time. Listening to the explanation from the arena staff, Lin quickly filled in the information of his new identity and walked straight to the lobby to wait for the game to start. There are a total of 20 battle stages on the first floor, and there are not many spectators on the stage. After all, the real strong men are on higher floors, and the audience prefers to watch high-level fighting. Walking to the fighting venue, there were two fighters fighting hand-to-hand. Lin observed it and found that he had no telekinesis ability and his physical training was ordinary. With his current eyesight, this was just a novice pecking each other. After the two people on the stage fought each other for 10 minutes, when the contestant standing on the stage was told by the referee to go to the 20th floor, he yelled excitedly. After waiting for 10 minutes, it was finally Lin's turn to take the stage, and his opponent was a boxer. Judging from the posture of the boxer, it must have been a lot of training. It was just bad luck today that he met Lin. In this game, Lin played very perfunctorily, and the referee was also very perfunctory. He didn't even confirm the names of the two opponents. After Lin knocked out his opponent with a knife, Lin was directly promoted to the 50th floor. At the exchange desk on the first floor, he received the prize money for this match from the staff. Looking at the envelope in his hand, even without opening it, Lin knew that it contained 152 denais, money for a bottle of juice. From the vending machine on the first floor, Lin bought a can of juice and drank it while preparing to go to the 50th floor. "Hello Mr. Lin, do you need an agent?" A slightly aged voice called out to Lin. He turned around and saw a middle-aged uncle with a somewhat unshaven beard. The clothes he wore were a little shabby but very neat. His old and peeling leather shoes were also polished by him. "Agent? What do you mean?" Without paying attention to how the uncle knew his name, Lin asked about the uncle's purpose. "Mr. Lin, my name is Ford Greedo. I just had the honor of watching your game and I want to be your agent. I can help you place your bets and do some legwork. It only costs 1% of your winnings for each bet." Ford was a little worried. He didn't know if the young man he was interested in would agree with him. What they feared most in this industry was being famous. If he was regarded as a liar, it would be troublesome. After hearing Ford's explanation, Lin immediately became interested and asked, "How do you know that I will definitely win money instead of losing money?" Ford was already prepared to be rejected by the young man in front of him. After all, he was really down and out now, but after hearing Lin's reply, Ford knew that this was giving him a chance. "That's right, Mr. Lin, I just had the honor to see your excellency fight in the ring on the first floor. I think your fighting skills are not only calm, but you also only use one move to defeat your opponent. You must know that our profession tests your eyesight the most. I think you can at least reach the 150th floor." After speaking, Ford continued very sincerely, "Mr. Lin, please give me a chance." After listening to Ford's words, Lin was also slightly tempted, not because he could make money with Ford, but because of him. Looking at Ford's appearance, Lin guessed that he must have encountered some kind of difficulty, and someone who could casually bet his money on a 12-year-old child must be capable. "Mr. Ford, it seems like you don't have to pay anything for me to be my agent, right? It's my money that's on the line. If I win, you get 1%. If I lose, it's also my money." After a simple analysis, Lin found the loopholes in Ford's words. Hearing Lin's words, Ford was a little excited and said, "That's not the case, Mr. Lin. I can not only help you place bets, but also provide you with other things you need. Basically, I only serve you. Like a servant." "Yes." Ford was quite helpless, but there was nothing he could do. "Ford, I think from your point of view, you should have stopped doing this business a long time ago. How did you end up like this?" Lin asked curiously. With a wry smile, Ford said a little decadently, "At this moment, the player I was looking for has reached level 160, and I'm ready to retire. In the end, that damn bastard kidnapped my wife and took away all my property. Even the house was sold." After learning the reason, Lin couldn't help but sigh. Life is really unpredictable. A big intestine wraps a small intestine, such a bloody thing can happen in another world. After correcting his attitude, Lin said seriously to Ford, "Mr. Ford, shall we make a deal? Trade?" Hearing this, Ford was a little confused. He had nothing, and even where to stay tonight was a problem. What else could be used to trade? "Yes. Deal. I just want to change your one-on-one relationship to a lifelong one. I wonder if that's okay?" Lin said with a smile, his tone was very sincere. At this moment, Ford felt flattered. Through the simple conversation and the mentioned transaction, judging from his many years of experience, he was a man with strong ambitions, and his strength was definitely more than 150 levels. "I agree, Ford, will only serve Mr. Lin for the rest of my life. If I break the contract, the price will be my life." Ford spoke in a firm tone because he knew very well that everything has a price. Although the young man in front of him looks only 11 or 12 years old, what else does he have to lose? "Then I wish us happy cooperation. Mr. Ford." "Happy cooperation. Mr. Lean. The two looked at each other and smiled, and Lean was very satisfied with Ford's performance. This is a smart guy, and this guy is going to be loyal because Lean will make Ford feel like he can't afford to lose any more. Before going to the 50th floor, Lean called Biscay. When he heard that Lean wanted to borrow money, Biscay only said 2 words, "No money." But when Lean said he would pay back double the amount, Biscay decisively called Lean. "Let's go, the money has arrived, now we're going to get our first pot of gold." Seeing the payment information on his phone, Lean told Ford, and the two of them walked towards the 50th floor. The two people who arrived on the 50th floor learned from the staff that they had to register again. Lean looked at the information registration form, which not only required filling in identity information, but also bank card information. After registering, Lean went to the player hall, waiting for his game to start, while Ford went to the auditorium, and when he saw Lean's game, he directly bought Lean's victory with 100 million yuan. On the 50th floor of Sky Arena, Lean wins. On the 60th floor of Sky Arena, Lean wins. On the 70th floor of Sky Arena, Lean wins. On the 80th floor of Sky Arena, Lean wins. On the 90th floor of Sky Arena, Lean wins. As Lean continued to win, Lean's bonuses also increased, and Ford's bet also made the two of them make a lot of money. By the time he reached the 90th floor, Lean had already ended his competitive journey. It's not that Lean doesn't want to fight, but it's that the competition time in the Sky Arena is up, and Lean can only agree with Ford to fight again tomorrow. Of course, before that, Biscay's money had to be paid back, a total of 30 nip. Lean remembered it clearly. Dip dip. On the way back to Jung's bachelor apartment, Lean received a call from Biscay. "Lean, how did you make so much money all at once? Did you rob a bank?" Before Lean could speak, Biscay's excited voice came over. "No, I signed an agent, a lifelong one, and he helped me place my bets, so, you know." Lean said with some success. "Damn it, I forgot. You can place bets on the 50th floor of the arena. Damn it, I'll do it tomorrow too." On the phone, there was an angry voice from Biscay, and Lean felt as if Biscay had lost 100 million, as if, more than 100 million. Early the next morning, Lean briefly exercised and then set off to the Sky Arena to meet Ford. When Lean arrived, Ford was already waiting for Lean at the door. But at this moment, Ford had changed into a dark black suit, and his face had been trimmed, giving him a completely new look. "Let's go." Without too many words, both of them knew what they should do. This is the advantage of being with smart people. On this day, Lean reached the 150th floor and obtained a dedicated room in the Sky Arena on the 100th floor. Ford was very excited because their funding reached 60 billion ringgits. Lean was uninterested. It was because there was no threat to Lean at all below the 200th floor. "Lean, we have reached the 150th floor, do we still want to place a bet?" On this key issue, Ford was very clear. He knew that he was just a handler, and he still had to listen to Lean's opinion in the general direction. Lean chuckled and said, "Ford, take a long-term view. My goal is to reach the 200th floor." Looking at the figure gradually going away, Ford suddenly grinned and murmured, "Of course I want you to win." On the third day, Lean successfully passed the 190th floor and was ready to move to the 200th floor. Lean's capital also reached more than 200 billion denis. Ford also followed Lean and became popular, and his personal savings reached 2 million. Looking at the numbers on his bank card, Ford felt that that encounter was really the wisest decision in his life. Chapter 13. In the corridor on the 200th floor of the Sky Arena, Lean slowly walked towards the registration desk for player registration. "Hello, I'm here to register," Lean said to the staff in work clothes. The young lady with a smile on her face confirmed, "Welcome to the 200th floor of the arena, is it Mr. Lean, right?" "I'm Mr. Lean, please fill in your specific information on this form." The staff took out a form for Lean to fill out. This was the third form that Lean had filled out after arriving at the Sky Arena. After filling out the form, Lean said, "Please help me arrange the nearest battle." The staff member took out another form and said, "Mr. Lean, please fill in this form. Is this okay?" After filling out the form, Lean handed it to the staff. "Okay, that's okay, we will arrange for you to fight right away." After the staff finished speaking, he took out a key and said, "This is your residence on the 200th floor, room 2103. Please pay attention to the battle arrangements in the room at any time. Okay, thank you. After taking the key, Lin just turned around and saw three strange-looking people standing behind him. At this moment, Lin was stunned for a moment, blinked his eyes, and after confirming that he saw correctly, turned around and walked towards the room. When Lin returned to the room, he immediately called Ford and said, "Ford helped me investigate three people, namely Sha Dashuo, Tanuki Baido and Ji Do." When Lin saw the three of them just now, he recognized the identities of Sha Dazuo and the others, but what stunned Lin was the guilt value displayed above the heads of the three. 176, Raccoon Baidu. 167, Fighting. 97, Kill Dashuo. Since Lin obtained the skill Eye of Judgment, he has never seen a sin value. So he was stunned for a moment, and the reason why Ford was asked to investigate the three people was because Lin wanted to know what the standard of guilt was. At the registration desk on the 200th floor of the arena, Sha Dashuo looked at the registration desk and said with a smile, "This time it's my turn. The newcomer just saw us and was obviously shocked by our momentum. Let me give him a baptism." Li Baiduo was riding a scooter and said somewhat unhappily, "What a lucky guy." After listening to what the two said, Ji Do also said, "It doesn't matter, everyone has a chance. As long as you become the poster, fame, money and status are within your reach." As if they thought of something, the three of them began to laugh sadly, and then Sha Dashuo walked to the registration desk and began to fill in the information and reserve the nearest battle. At this time, Lin was in the room, waiting for news from Ford while thinking about the development of his mental ability. It's been a while since he awakened his mind, but Lin still has no clue about the development of his mind. It's not because he can't think of it, but because there are too many good abilities and he doesn't know how to choose. Dip dip. The sound of the phone interrupted Lin's thinking. Picking up the phone and answering the call. Lin found it. "I have sent it to your mailbox through the computer. Please accept it." "Okay, thank you Ford." Turning on the computer in the room, Lin logged into his mailbox and began to check the information sent by Ford. After reading the information for a while, Lin combined with his memory of the original work to have a full understanding of the circumstances surrounding the killing of Dazuo and the three others. The three of them were people who lived in a semi-dark world before. A year ago, the three of them came to the Sky Arena one after another and reached the 200th floor without any pressure. On the 200th floor, the three faced the same situation. The three who were about to show off their talents were baptized in the duel. The bones of Sha Dashuo's left arm were smashed to pieces, and Baido's legs were lost. The worst thing was that Ji Do suffered irreversible trauma to his lower body and lungs. According to the information given by Ford, after the three of them returned from injury, they each achieved a victory record, and although the opponents they fought were still alive, their end was extremely miserable. As expected. The three of them were not good people to begin with, but after being baptized, their psychology became even more distorted. After understanding the situation of the three people, Lin immediately made a judgment. As expected, those who are worthy of sin are not fun. After the investigation, Lin looked at the electronic display in the center of the room, which displayed recent battle information. Lin's battle was 2 days later, and his opponent was Sha Dashuo. Lin smiled slightly, picked up the phone and dialed. The first call was to Ford, telling him the time of the fight and putting all bets on it. The second call was made to Biscay and told him the time of Biscay's battle. Biscay would place a bet online to win the game within the specified time. Time passed slowly as Lin practiced, and in a blink of an eye it was time for the battle. Ford has arranged his work very well these 2 days. He is usually responsible for Lin's food, clothing, housing, and transportation, and never disturbs Lin's practice. In the duel arena on the 202nd floor of the Sky Arena, the surroundings were filled with people watching. A burst of lights flashed, illuminating the ring in the middle of the duel arena. Welcome everyone to the 202nd floor of the Sky Arena. Let me introduce today's contestants. As the host's voice sounded, the atmosphere in the venue was instantly ignited. The first one to appear is the Sha Dazuo player who has 1 win and 1 loss on the 200th floor of the arena. After the introduction, Sha Dashuo appeared on the ring with the same sinister face as Lin remembered, and his left hand was hung on his chest with a bandage. Kill Dazuo and defeat that newcomer, and I will get all my net worth. Come on, let the newcomer know the cruelty of 200 levels. There were countless spectators on the field cheering and shouting, and it was obvious at a glance that there were many people winning by killing Dazuo. And the other player is player Lin who has just reached the 200th level recently. As the host finished speaking, there were many voices on the field. Come on. Lin, you must be a dark horse. Come on, kids. Of course, the most excited one among them was Ford, who almost screamed hoarsely. After all, not only Lin's entire net worth, he also put all his net worth on the gambling table. Lin's attention was not focused on the audience at all. He looked at the opponent in front of him. Although the opponent's strength may not be high, this was his first time fighting against a telepathic person, and Lin was somewhat looking forward to it. The battle begins. Following the host's announcement, the venue instantly fell silent. Kid, I won't show mercy just because you are a child. I will give you a cruel baptism. The expression on his face was a bit evil, and Shadashuo waved to himself again when he felt the victory. Rin did not speak. People who talk too much in battle are not necessarily weak, but they must be stupid. Seeing Lin's performance, Shadashuo became a little angry. He rushed directly in front of Lin, made a fist with his right hand and punched him. Although Shadashuo only had one arm on the field, his swing speed was not slow. Lin did not fight back, but kept dodging. Is this the only level? Lin couldn't help but think as he was dodging. Suddenly, Shadashuo stopped attacking, with a sinister smile on his face. The warm-up is over. Now let me show you, kid, the gap between us. Don't be surprised. As Shadashuo's words fell, Lin's perception of Shadashuo's aura changed. Chapter 14. Lin used condensation to look, and sure enough, Shadashuo's body was wrapped in a stream of thought energy. It seems like we're going to get serious. Lin cheered up and focused his attention on Shadashuo. Lin didn't know much about Shadashuo's telekinesis ability, after all, the original novel didn't mention it in detail. After being wrapped in Nian Qi, Shadashuo's speed increased a lot, but for Lin, it was still within the acceptable range. After all, there was a big gap in strength between the two. Lin, who had dodged Shadashuo's punch, suddenly felt a sense of danger and immediately retreated. When he looked at Shadashuo with his condensation, he saw an arm made of mind energy. I have to say it's a keen insight, but it's useless. There is a fundamental gap between us. Let's accept the baptism. Shadashuo rushed towards Lin with a sinister look, as if he had a winning chance. Is this the gap you're talking about? Boom. The moment Shadashuo rushed over, Lin started training, and a huge amount of thought energy burst out from Lin's body. Through a simple fight, Lin discovered that the opponent's thoughts were extremely rough, and he knew very well that this was just a wild way to generate thoughts on his own without the guidance of a famous teacher. This is the case with mental ability. It is easy to learn but difficult to master, which means the upper limit is high. Similarly, the lower limit is also extremely low. Killing Dazuo is the kind with a very low limit. Thinking of this, Lin instantly lost interest in fighting. Shadazuo, who was stunned by this situation, stopped and looked at Lin in disbelief. You actually have this kind of ability? Shadashuo said in disbelief with horrified eyes. At this moment, it was not only Shadashuo who was shocked, but also Baido and Jido who were watching the battle beside the TV. Hey, it seems Shadashuo has hit a nail. At this moment, the two of them were a little lucky. Fortunately, they didn't run into Lin. Judging from Lin's performance, it was clear that Lin was a difficult character. Lin looked at Shadashuo with some pity and said, "Is it difficult? You must be a wild kid, right? You are really weak and pathetic. Damn it! You just have a good life, take your life." Seeing Lin's condition, Shadashuo became jealous and began to attack Lin desperately. Lin turned on condensation while constantly stimulating Shadashuo. You must be very angry. You lost an arm to awaken this ability, but I can get it at will. Aren't you very unwilling? Damn it! Why can't I hit him? Shadashuo was a little angry and gradually began to lose his mind. Get some sleep. Tiger out of the mountain. This is one of the 3 ultimate moves of the bodybuilding fist. It looks like an ordinary punch, but this punch concentrates all the strength of the body, and Lin wraps Nian around the fist. Boom! With just one punch, Shadashuo was knocked away. During the flight, his eyes turned white and he lost consciousness. Winner! Player Lin. With the referee's announcement, the whole place was in an uproar. The people who had defeated Dazuo before and won were in mourning. People like Ford, who pushed Lin Shang to win, cheered desperately, and the stadium was instantly polarized. This has nothing to do with Lin. At this time, Lin was looking at Shadashuo being carried away on a stretcher. Lin smiled slightly and murmured, "The seeds have been planted, it's time to end your sinful life." When he returned to the exclusive room, Lin received a call from Ford. Ford told Lin that they had made a lot of money this time. The odds between Lin and Shadashuo have reached 3:1.5, which means that Lin's more than 60 billion has become nearly 200 billion. Tell Ford to keep up the good work and ask Ford to buy a box of brand name chocolates from the luxury store opened in the arena and deliver it to the room. This kind of chocolate is Killua's favorite in the original work. A box of only 6 pieces costs 180 million ring nis. Lin had always wanted to try it before, but now that he had made a lot of money, he had to see what kind of chocolate was so expensive. Then Lin called Biscay again, mainly asking about the mind killer. "Lin, you are too anxious. If the mind killer was so easy to find, it wouldn't be a rare profession." Although he knew that Biscay was right, Lin was too concerned about the sharp knife hanging above his head, but no one would feel at ease if he put a time bomb on his body. Not long after calling Biscay, Ford came to Lin's room with chocolates. Lin opened the package and tasted one, and was instantly conquered by the taste of chocolate. The sweet but not greasy feeling with a nutty fragrance was something Lin had never tasted before. Even the top quality chocolate from the previous life was still far behind. No wonder Killua likes it so much, it's really great. Lin murmured and said to Ford, "Would you like one?" "No, I don't like sweets." Ford waved his hand. "That's such a pity." Then Lin said, "Ford has something to do. I have to practice here for a few days. Let me know when Shadashuo comes out of the infirmary." "Okay. I will deliver the food and supplies for the next few days on time." After saying that, Ford left the room. Lin looked at Ford's leaving figure and couldn't help but feel glad that he made the right choice. 4 days later, Lin, who was practicing in his room, received a call from Ford and informed him that Shadashuo had left the infirmary this morning after recovering from his injuries. After hanging up the phone, Lin grinned, not knowing what he thought of. Shadashuo lay in the infirmary for 4 days. During this time, his resentment towards Rin reached its extreme. "Especially when I see the disabled arm, I always can't help but think of the intact Lin." Not long after returning to the exclusive room, there was a knock on the door of the room. When he opened the door, Shadashuo saw the figures of Baido and Kaido. The 3 of them were sitting in the room, and Ji-do said, "I didn't expect to encounter a tough guy. That brat named Lin at least has the strength of the original poster. Damn it, there's no way. That brat must have had a master." After systematic training, what he said is absolutely right. "We are a bunch of wild people." Shadashuo replied fiercely. Li Baiduo sighed helplessly and said, "We have all experienced baptism at the beginning, and the methods we use are all subconsciously inspired. We don't know how to use them at all. We don't even know where to find someone to teach us." Dong, dong. While the 3 were communicating with each other, there was a knock on the door. Although Shadashuo was confused as to who would be looking for him besides the 2 people in front of him, he still opened the door honestly. Shadashuo was a little surprised at this moment. He didn't expect Lin to come here. "Are you here to see my joke? Damn you brat!" Shadashuo said with a gloomy face and gritted teeth. Chapter 15. Ignoring Shadashuo who was standing by, Lin walked straight into the room. "Hey! Everyone is here, so we don't have to visit one by one." Lin said hello first as he entered, and slowly sat down on the sofa under the strange looks of the 3 people. "What are you doing, kid?" Ji-do said. Rin smiled and said, "Don't worry about what I will do. I'm here to negotiate a deal with the 3 of you." "Deal?" "Yes, deal." Suddenly, a large amount of mental energy erupted from Rin's body, and the 3 of them were shocked and immediately prepared for battle. "Are you going to do something here? Kid? Do it. We must strike first." The sudden riot caused the 3 of them to panic, but they were experienced combatants and were ready to fight in an instant. Just when the 3 of them were about to fight to the death, Lin withdrew his mental energy and said, "You just saw my mental energy. You and I are not on the same level at all. You damn brat, you are really here to ridicule me." Shadashuo couldn't help but think to himself. "Tell me, you just said a deal, what kind of deal is it?" Ji-do said. Lin smiled slightly and said, "Don't worry, everyone. You should know that I have a teacher." Then Lin's voice changed and he said, "One person has 1 billion Ni. If you give me 10 billion Ni, I will teach you how to use this power. What do you think? After Lin finished speaking, the minds of Shadasuo and the other three were unable to react for a moment. They originally thought Lin was here to cause trouble, but they didn't expect this to be the case. The room fell into silence for a while, and Lin didn't speak, quietly waiting for the three people's replies. Finally, Shadasuo couldn't bear it any longer and asked, "How can I be sure that after I give you the money, you will teach us? Do you think it's necessary for me to lie to you because of my strength?" Facing the gazes of the three people, Lin said calmly. Without waiting for the three of them to reply, Lin said again, "You should think about it slowly, and then give me a call after you think about it. I may leave here in a while, and then you may not have the chance to see me again." After saying that, Lin left the room under the silent gazes of the three people. As Lin was about to go back to his exclusive room, he took out a chocolate ball from his pocket and threw it into his mouth. The silky texture made him narrow his eyes slightly. "What do you think? How can that kid be so kind?" Shadasuo said angrily. Li Baiduo thought for a while and said, 1 billion nuns is not a small amount. 1 billion is a lot, but we also need such an opportunity. I will give it a try. The one who spoke was Kaito, and he didn't care about Shadasuo and Tanuki Baido at all. Ji Do expressed his opinion and said, "With his strength, there is no need to lie to us. If I make a mistake, I will only lose 1 billion Ni." After a period of silence, the three of them reached a consensus and then picked up their mobile phones and dialed Lin's phone number. After returning to the room, Lin asked Ford to order some more chocolate balls. After all, they were really delicious. He could bring some to Yungu and Bisji. Before the chocolate balls bought by Ford were delivered, the call from Shadasuo and the others had already arrived. "We agreed to your request. A total of 3 billion denais will be transferred to your account." Ji Do's voice came from the phone. Hearing this, Lin laughed and said, "This is the price just now. Now, in addition to the 30 billion Ni, you three must also owe me a favor." After speaking, Lin told the three people his bank account and told them to transfer the money directly after they thought about it and wait for notification. Kaito hung up the phone and the three of them looked at each other. Tanuki Baido said, "What should we do?" Ji Do. "Of course the money was transferred to the account. It's just a favor. So what if we don't recognize it?" Kaito was initially hesitant about Lin, but when Lin put forward another condition, he felt much more relieved. "Okay. We'll send him the money today." Lin, who was practicing mindfulness in the evening, received a call from Ford. "Ryan, suddenly there is a remittance of 30 billion jin in your account." After listening, Lin smiled slightly, knowing that the fish began to bite the hook, and the hook was still a dead hook. "I know about this, Ford." After informing Ford, Lin hung up the phone, picked up the chocolate ball on the table next to him and took a delicious bite. After receiving the money, Lin did not contact Shadasuo, Ji Do and others, but continued to practice Nen ability. After this period of practice, Lin has completely mastered entanglement, Ju, and practice. Among them, the application of practice can be sustained for 8 hours at full strength. As for the remaining Fa, we already have some clues. Dip dip. When he remembered the sound of the phone, Lin didn't answer the call immediately. Instead, he waited until the ringing disappeared and then called again. "Why are you looking for me so late?" Lin said with the phone in his hand and a chocolate ball in his mouth. "What's the matter? The money has arrived. When are you going to teach us? And it's only 8 o'clock in the evening." Kaito's voice was a little excited, and he couldn't help but be excited. The money was basically all his savings, and Lin didn't even fart after receiving the money. How could he feel at ease? Lin sighed after hearing this and said, "Oh. I originally thought of contacting you tomorrow, but seeing as you are so anxious, I'll meet you in the woods outside the city at 9 tonight." After saying that, Ryan hung up the phone, but the phone rang again within a few seconds. "What's going on?" Lin asked doubtfully after picking up the phone. Ji Do, who was on the other side of the phone, said angrily, "What do you mean, kid? Why do we have to go to the woods outside the city? Are you idiots? There is a lot of noise during the practice, and the room is too small. The method of practice cannot be taught in a crowded place. Where do you think it is suitable?" Lin replied with a tone of hatred, while Ji Do on the other end of the phone was silent for a while. "See you at 9 o'clock. In the end, Kaito was defeated and hung up the phone with a dejected sentence. Lin, who was holding his cell phone, slowly walked to the window, looked at the stars in the sky, and murmured, "You never have a choice, you only have the value of being squeezed dry by me." From the first time he saw the three people's sins, Lin already had a plan in mind. It's a pity that everything in the prison needs to be kept secret and no one can see anything wrong. This alone completely eliminates the possibility of Lin beating his opponent unconscious in the ring and sending him to prison. And it's impossible in the arena. As the saying goes, you have to see people in life, and you have to see corpses in death. The disappearance of Shadazuo and the three people will definitely attract the attention of interested people. It will be bad if they are sent to prison next time and people find out. The only way is to find a way to lure the other three people out of the city without anyone noticing. So from the beginning of the battle with Shadazuo, the opponent was already in Lin's plan, and his mentality was also carefully controlled. Of course, the 3 billion ring nuns were a complete surprise. After all, Lin himself would not believe what he got without paying for it. Chapter 16. In the woods outside the city, the footsteps of three figures broke the silence of the night. Under the moonlight, it was not difficult to see that it was Shadazuo and the other three. "Damn you brat! Once you learn how to use this power, you must make him look good." Amid Shadazuo's complaints, the three of them walked to a big tree in the center of the woods. "Just wait and see here. Even if there is danger, we can still escape by gathering the strength of the three of us," Kaido said in a low voice. Li Baiduo said easily, "Don't worry, we have already started to kill you, we won't wait until now." The most calm among the three is Baido. In the baptism of the arena, his legs were injured and his legs were disabled. His telekinesis ability is to inject air into the mobility scooter under him, and burst out with powerful speed. Damn it! After waiting for 3 hours, why doesn't that kid come? It wasn't until the bright moonlight hung on the branches and the sky became increasingly colder that Shadazuo finally lost his temper and complained. At this time, there was a sound of footsteps, and the three of them looked together, and it was Lin's figure. "Sorry. Something happened and I'm late," Lin said with a smile. The three of them were silent for a while, waiting for Lin's follow-up. Of course, Lin knew what to do to disarm the three of them, and said, "Then I won't stop talking nonsense and start teaching directly. First of all, you must know that the name of this power is Nian, and the ability generated by Nian is called Nian ability. The method of practicing Nian is called the Four Elements." Not paying attention to anything else, Lin stood there and started explaining. Listening to Lin's explanation, Li Baiduo asked, "Is it training that you burst out with a huge amount of qi that day?" "Yes, that's training, but today we mainly learn Zetsu," Lin said with a smile. Later, Lin explained, "It is absolutely the basis of the ability to read, eliminate one's own sense of existence, and can continuously restore one's physical strength and mind." At this moment, the three of them had somewhat let down their guard, and as Lin explained, the three of them slowly tried to enter the absolute state. Seeing the three people trying to enter the absolute state, Lin smiled knowingly. He only said half of the explanation just now. The other half are in the absolute state, where all physical attributes will be reduced to the lowest level, and Nian cannot be used. Looking at the three people who simply maintained their absoluteness, Lin thought to himself, "Do it." Suddenly, Lin burst out with powerful thought energy, and struck Li Baiduo in the back of the head with a knife. Among the three, Lin was least sure to keep him, so Baiduo must be incapacitated as soon as possible. Sure enough, Tanuki Baiduo lived up to Lin's expectations and fainted after being hit by the knife. "Take custody." Before Tanuki Baiduo fell to the ground, the fainted Tanuki Baiduo disappeared instantly, and Lin's actions shocked the remaining two people to react instantly. Of course, all of this was within Lin's expectation. After taking away Baiduo, Lin took advantage of Kaido's still place and kicked the top of Kaido's body with a kick wrapped in his thoughts, leaving him crippled. For a person with a lower body, it will take some time to climb out. Damn! It's true. You have no good intentions from the beginning. Shadazuo was a little angry. Being teased by Lin one after another made the anger in his heart extremely strong. It's useless to say more. If you want to blame, just blame the sins you have committed. Sin. Shadazuo had done many bad things in his life, but none of them could be associated with Lin. Puff. After a brief exchange, Lin punched Shadazuo directly in the abdomen, and a mouthful of blood spurted out of Shadazuo's mouth. At this point, Shadazuo was completely incapacitated. "Then it's your turn, Mr. Kaido." After taking Shadazuo into custody, Lin turned to look at Ji Do. What does your grudge against Sha Dashuo have to do with me? Let me go. I won't tell anything about what happened today, and I will give you a sum of money. Seeing the inexplicable disappearance of Sha Dashuo and Tanabiaduo, it was impossible for Ji Do not to panic. Even in the simple confrontation between Lin and Sha Dashuo, Ji Do was able to carry out long-range attacks, but he did not choose to do so because he believed that he had no grudge against Lin and was afraid that a momentary attack would trigger Lin's revenge. Lin looked at Ji Do, who was lying on the ground, unable to move due to his disabled legs, and said, "Sure enough, there must be something hateful about poor people." One punch. When Lin's fist fell on Kaido's face, Kaido couldn't figure out why Lin targeted the three of them like this until he was unconscious. After taking the three people into prison, Lin stood there and slowly sorted out the information given by the prison in his mind. This information appeared when Shadazuo was taken into custody, but Lin did not have time to check it at that time. After sorting it out, the information from the prison this time is that the crime value has reached 100 points, the prison has been upgraded to level 2, and the level 2 skill Infinite Body and the prison facility storage room have been unlocked. Lin looked at the information about the Infinite Body in detail. Prison skill, Infinite Body. The Infinite Body can break through the upper limit of the human body without limit. By ingesting high-purity mind energy and high-quality food, the body's potential and physical upper limit can be increased without side effects. After seeing this skill, Lin exclaimed, "Simple and crude. We must know that the human body has an upper limit, which means that the potential energy of Neon has an end." The emergence of this skill allows Lin to see a path to the sky. As long as you keep catching criminals with criminal values and eating high-quality rare ingredients, then the way forward is just like the name of the skill, infinite means never-ending. With a thought in his mind, Lin came to the prison, where prisoners were now held in 3 cells. Lin observed carefully. The 3 of them all entered into their own hallucinations, and white gas was emitting from their bodies. Without even thinking about it, he knew that it was the essence of life. Pulling up personal information, sure enough the panel has been updated. Warden, Ryan Purst. Age, 12 years old. Prison level, level 2. Prison skills, Eye of Judgment, Prison Controller, Infinite Body. Prison facilities, Warden's Room, Cell, Storage Room. Lifespan, 73 years. Sin value, 340 points. Next stage, Sin value 1000 points. The personal panel has changed, the prison level has been increased by 1 level, and the lifespan has been increased by 3 years. The conditions required for the next level have also been revealed. After deducting the Sin points for upgrading, there are still 660 points left to continue upgrading. Of course, what makes Lin most happy is the increase in lifespan. Although it is different from strength, who can refuse it if he can live a long time? With a thought in his mind, Lin came to the storage room. Looking at the rows of wooden shelves in front of him, the information about the storage room also came to him. After receiving the information from the storage room, Lin exclaimed, "Awesome!" In Lin's view, the storage room is completely equivalent to a storage space. The warden can put any items in the storage room, and the time of the items in the storage room is suspended and can be taken out at any time in the outside world. Then let's go back and continue my competitive journey. Facing the cold moonlight with excitement and full harvest, Lin left the forest and walked towards the Sky Competition Tower. Chapter 17. After taking Dasuo and 3 others into custody, Lin did not develop his telekinesis ability. It's just that he is busier than before, and going to the 200th floor of the arena to fight is just the result of the experiment itself. Time soon came to March 1998. During this period, Lin did not develop his telekinesis ability, firstly because he had no good ideas, and secondly because he and Ford established a company to purchase rare ingredients. Because of his infinite body, Lin ate at all the high-end restaurants in the city and countless rare ingredients. After the food he ate had little effect on the body, Lin had an idea and used some of his money to start a company with Ford that purchased and sold rare food. In Ford's grateful eyes, he gave Ford 20% of his shares. In addition to starting a company, in the past 6 months, with the nourishment of life essence and the continuous improvement of eating rare ingredients, Lin's strength has improved rapidly. Not only his potential energy and manifest energy are so high that Yungu said Monster has also mastered the application skills of the 4 major industries. Application skills are divided into Jo, the application technique of winding, wraps chi around objects to make them durable. Strength, the application technique of entanglement and training, strengthens one's own defense. Hidden, a unique application technique, can hide qi and make qi become a semi-material state. Yuan, an applied skill of taming, and lian, a field skill, is similar to the existence of seeing, hearing and color. Hard is a combination of 5 applied skills: entanglement, absolute, practice, hair, and condensation. It abandons defense and attacks the opponent with 100% of its own energy. Flow, a general skill of hardness and hardness, keeps one's defense and attack at 50% each. At this moment, Reen was sitting on the sofa in the exclusive room of the Sky Arena, his face gloomy. Every once in a while, Lean would call Biscay and ask about the mind-killing master. Unfortunately, even with Biscay's connections, it was difficult to find him. Seeing the threat of body parasitic thoughts getting bigger and bigger, Lean couldn't help but start to become anxious. If there isn't one, then create one. With a stern look in his eyes, Lean gradually began to have thoughts in his mind. Sitting on the chair, Reen took a pen and started writing slowly on the paper. It wasn't until the moon rose at night that Lean put away his pen with satisfaction, looked at the densely written paper with satisfaction and smiled. Looking at the paper in his hand, Lean was very satisfied. Although he had no choice but to choose the ability to eliminate telepathy, what is the most dangerous thing in the hunter world? Of course, there are endless and weird special abilities. For Lean, becoming a mind killer is also a good choice. After determining the direction of his telekinesis ability, Lean began to develop his telekinesis ability. With the time bomb on his body, Lean didn't want to wait for a moment. The ability to read is the product of every ability user's heart. It is up to the ability user to plan the direction, and the ability to read will form independently, which is equivalent to the revelation of the heart. Lean, who activated his mind energy, kept saying in his heart, "I need a mind beast that has all the characteristics of the 6 major systems and can swallow the mind beast." As Lean's mental energy continued to surge, the mental energy around him continued to separate and gather, and not long after, a dragon-shaped creature appeared in the air. "It's done." Sensing the birth of the mind beast, Lean opened his eyes, and a white dragon appeared in front of Lean. Beilong is very small, about 50 centimeters, with a confused look in his eyes. The moment Beilong saw Lean, he immediately leaned in intimately and rubbed his cheek against Lean's arm. Looking at such a cute Beilong, Lean thought for a moment and said, "I'll call you Xiaobai from now on." "Surge!" Xiaobai shouted excitedly and seemed to like this name very much. Then Lean said seriously, "Xiaobai, get rid of the parasitic thoughts in me." "Surge! Surge!" Xiaobai understood Lean's words, shouted, walked beside Lean, opened his mouth and inhaled. A large amount of black thought energy spurted out, and was inhaled by Xiaobai. "It's done, but the price is still unknown." Seeing the black thought energy being continuously sucked into Xiaobai's mouth, Lean was happy but also felt headache about the cost of eliminating thoughts. Finally, the black thought energy was completely swallowed by Xiaobai. Xiaobai yawned and then disappeared. Lean knew that Xiaobai fell into a deep sleep. Shortly after Xiaobai disappeared, Lean felt that his energy volume began to decrease continuously, and this state did not stop until his mind energy was almost exhausted. Not good. A sharp pain came, and Lean felt unprecedented pain. He didn't even have time to realize how painful it was, and his vision went dark and he fainted. After an unknown amount of time, Lean woke up from his coma. The moment he regained consciousness, he quickly checked his body. "Whew!" After making sure that his whole body was intact, Reen breathed a sigh of relief. Then Lean silently sensed his physical condition. For some unknown reason, Lean could clearly feel that his lifespan was reduced by 4 months due to the removal of thoughts. This was feedback from his ability to read thoughts. Is it the telekinesis ability that consumes lifespan? Spending his life is not unacceptable to Lean, who relies on prison. In terms of eliminating the threat to life by consuming only 4 months of life, it can also be said to be a bloody gain. But this is not a long-term solution for Lean. Now Xiaobai's ability has not actually increased for Lean's improvement, and it is impossible for Lean to consume his lifespan for a long time. However, it's not like I don't have a way to change. At this time, Lean thought about the oath and restrictions, and planned to go to Yungu for consultation tomorrow. Early the next morning, Lean took 2 boxes of chocolate balls and set out for Yung's bachelor's apartment. When he walked to the door of the apartment, he saw Yungu and a child preparing to go out. Lean recognized the identity of the child at a glance. He was Hixi, a disciple of Jung in the original novel. Lean, who pretended not to recognize Zhixi, asked, "This is it. This is my disciple Zhixi, whose qualifications are at the level of one person in 100,000 people." Yungu replied with a slight smile. "Zhixi, this is my junior brother, you can call him Uncle Lin." Yung turned his head and said to Zhixi behind him, "Osi. Uncle Lin." Zhixi said seriously, assuming the exclusive pose of Shinjin Ry. Lin waved his hand, "You don't have to be so polite. Do you have time? Let's chat. Go into the house and say, Zhixi, wait here." "Osi. Master Yungu." Yungu nodded with satisfaction, turned around and walked into the house. Lin walked into the house, sat down on the sofa naturally, put the chocolate ball in his hand on the table and said, "A gift for you." Yungu nodded and said, "Thank you." "What happened this time?" Lin said, "I would like to ask you for advice about oaths and restrictions." Hearing Lin's words, Yungu was not surprised at all. On the contrary, Lin only asked this question now, and Yungu felt that it was slow. Chapter 18. Yungu explained to Lin in great detail, making up for the missing knowledge about oaths and restrictions in Lin's previous life. In general, if a person with telekinesis ability makes a condition in their heart and sticks to it, the telepathy ability will abide by the user's conditions from the side. Depending on the severity of the oath, the telepathy will also change differently. Of course, it is not that the more stringent the oath is, the better. The more stringent the oath is, the greater the backlash will be. G. Fulicy in the original work is a good example. After understanding it, Lin was thoughtful and was about to leave, but was stopped by Yungu. Yungu scratched his head in embarrassment and said, "Lin, let me know in advance next time we fight. After all, there is a big spender now." "No problem, wait for my notification." Back in the room, Lin fell into a long exam with the white paper in front of him. What he was thinking about was not what kind of oaths and restrictions to formulate, but how to reasonably avoid oaths and restrictions while enhancing his telekinesis ability. Suddenly, Lin felt the room's display screen flicker. At a glance, it was Lin's next battle schedule, which was 2:06 am on the 10th floor of the arena tomorrow. As for the opponent, Lin's eyes shrank, and a very familiar name appeared in Lin's eyes, Hanashi Doru. The character Hanashi Doru appears in the original work. In Lin's view, this person has a good sense of combat, and he also belongs to the stupefying green enhancement type. Unfortunately, in the end, the lack of guidance from a famous teacher harmed Doru Kaishi, leading him to develop nin abilities that were not suitable for him, and he died at the hands of Hisoka. I don't know what came to mind. Lin stared at Hwashi Dolang's name and smiled. Next day. Sky Arena 206th floor. The game scene was also buzzing with people. In the audience, not only Ford, but also Yungu and Zhixi came to watch Lin's game. As the host finished speaking, Lin and Hwashi Dolang stood facing each other. Seeing the thought energy emanating from Hwashi Dolyuan in front of him, Lin couldn't help but think, it seems that this is his first return after being baptized by Hisoka and practicing for 2 years. Hanashi Doru looked at the young man in front of him and wondered how a child as young as Sky Arena could reach the 200th floor after he had only been away for 2 years. But even if the opponent was a child, Hanashi Doru still decided to use all his strength. It is definitely not easy for this child to be able to establish himself on the 200th floor at such a young age. Hwashi Doru took the lead and launched a fierce attack on Lin. And Lin could tell from Hwashi Dolang's actions that this guy had a strong martial arts foundation, which was very different from the three-legged cat like Shadashuo. He did not choose to dodge the attack. Lin knew very well that if he chose to dodge in front of an opponent who was experienced in this kind of martial arts, he would easily fall into a disadvantage. He did not hesitate to use his fists and kicks to fight Hwashi Dolang. Looking at the battle in front of him, Jung said to Zhixi, "Did you see it? Zhixi, this is a genius who can only be born among tens of billions of people. Before using Nian, he can already compete with famous people like Hwashi Dolyuan. Martial arts masters fight with no distinction between victory and defeat. And Zhixi has already been attracted by the battle in the ring, it's so awesome. It's really awesome. I don't know when I will be able to reach their level." Yungu twitched his lips and said, "It's a good thing that Zhixi has a goal. You still have a chance, Hwashi Dolang, but some things can't be achieved through hard work." At this time, Zhixi's attention was all on the ring, her blood boiled with excitement, and she wished she was the one on the field. Boom! The exchange of fists caused the two men to be separated, and then they fought together again in the blink of an eye. The two sides' attacks refused to give in to each other. For Lin, the battle with Kaishi Doru was evenly matched without the use of Nen, and Kaisuke Doru also enjoyed this kind of battle where he only competed in martial arts. The two separated again, and Hwashi Dolang said, "Although I really want to keep fighting with you, now it's time to start the real battle." Hearing this, Lin nodded, and then powerful mental energy erupted from his young body. The overly powerful mental energy formed a huge pressure and enveloped Hwashi Dolang. "You can't win. How can you be so strong?" Feeling the pressure of Lin's Nian Qi, this was Hwashi Dolang's only thought. A trace of cold sweat broke out on his face. Hwashi Dolang knew he couldn't win, but his sense of honor as a martial artist still didn't allow him to admit defeat. "Come on! Tiger Bite Fist!" Knowing that it was impossible to win, Hwashi Doru was ready to make a desperate move and use his own unique technique to decide the outcome. Seeing Hwashi Dolang's special move, Lin didn't dare to use hard carelessly, and punched him. Boom! Hwashi Dolang's mental energy was directly punched away by Lin, and he was knocked out of the field. Player Hwashi Doru was knocked out of the field. The winner is player Lin. Congratulations to player Lin for his 7th consecutive victory. Seeing Hwashi Dolang flying out of the field, the host announced the result instantly. What followed was noisy cheers on the field, among which Zhixi shouted heartbreakingly. Yungu on the side took out a handkerchief and wiped his sweat. He usually did not participate in betting, but this time he put all his wealth on it. Although he had 100% confidence in Lin, it was impossible to say that he was not nervous. After winning the victory, Lin walked towards Hwashi Dolang and said, "Are you interested in becoming my disciple and joining the Shinjin Ryu?" "Zhenjian Liu. I do." After hearing Lin's words, Hwashi Dolang agreed without hesitation. After all, the famous name of Shinjin Ryu, Kaishi Doru, had been heard of. He just regretted that he had no way to get started. Now that the opportunity was in front of him, how could he not agree? Lin smiled slightly and said, "Okay. You go back and rest first. I will teach you how to use Nian in detail when I have time." Hwashi Doluo said loudly, "Yes. Teacher Lin." Lin smiled and nodded. He was very satisfied with Hwashi Dolang's character. With the enhanced character and martial arts idiot's character, there was basically no possibility of betrayal. On the way back to his exclusive room, Lin met an unexpected person. Looking at the figure with purple hair and a somewhat evil face in front of him, Lin couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. He didn't expect to meet this person. Hisoka Moro. Lin thought to himself. Lin blinked in disbelief. Through the eye of judgment, Lin could clearly see Hisoka's head with a sin point on his head, and he felt a little jealous for a moment. Hisoka, who was leaning against the wall, was playing with a playing card in his hand, as if he was waiting for something. When he saw Rin looking at him, Hisoka instantly walked towards Rin. "I watched your match just now. It was a good fight. Do you want to have a fight?" Hisoka looked very serious and extended an invitation to Lin, but Lin knew very well that this was just an appearance, and in reality this guy was not that at all. Lin, who has read the original work, understands Hisoka very well. Although he is known as a pervert, a murderer, a fruit farmer, etc., and he does kill without batting an eye, he is actually a person who is very pure about fighting. Fighting for a fight that can feel excitement, so pure that you can risk your life. Chapter 19. Seeing Hisoka pretending to be a serious person in front of him, Rin hesitated. Hisoka looked at Lin, who seemed to be lost in thought, without the slightest hint of impatience. He just became more and more interested in this young man. "Young man, what choice will you make? With that kind of mental energy, you will definitely not be a weakling." "Ah! I really want to have a fight with you," Hisoka thought secretly in his heart. After thinking for a while, Lin said, "Yes, but my telekinesis ability has not been fully developed yet, maybe in 2 weeks." Rin knew that fighting Hisoka was full of dangers, and winning or losing would not be good for him. It's just that he has been practicing for so long and has never fought with all his strength. Lin wants to see where his current strength is, and Hisoka, a fruit farmer, is obviously the most suitable target at this time. After hearing Lin's reply, Hisoka smiled slightly and said, "Okay, we'll see you in the ring in 2 weeks." After saying that, Rin ignored Hisoka and walked straight towards the exclusive room. After Rin left, Hisoka finally revealed his true colors. "Ah! 2 weeks. It's really a long waiting time. I really want to taste your blood. Hisoka looked extremely excited, which attracted many glances from the people around him, but everyone chose to turn a blind eye. After a while, Hisoka finally withdrew from that excited state, showed an evil smile, licked his lips and said, "It seems that being disqualified from the Hunter Association is not a bad thing. I didn't expect to encounter such an interesting aura. This feeling, the same kind." When Lin returned to his room, he immediately contacted Hawashi Dolang and said that he would introduce him to a senior who had a good heart. Then the two of them walked towards Yungu's residence together. "I have a very important battle recently. Hawashi Dolang may not have time to teach him, so I will hand him over to you, Yungu. By the way, I will ask Ford to come over with 20 billion ringgit. After all, you have one more person to eat." Lin sat on the sofa and directly arranged the matters of Hawashi Dolang's training. After listening, Yungu waved his hand and said, "Don't bother me. After all, I won a lot thanks to you. It doesn't matter, Yungu, you and Bisji have given me too much help, it's nothing, and after this last game, I will leave here for a while." After saying that, Lin seemed to have thought of something and said, "By the way, I can't contact Master Bisgai recently. Please tell her that there is no need to go to the Master of Nian. I don't need it anymore." Yungu was stunned for a moment, and then said with some surprise, "No need? Have you found the mind-killing master? Since you can't find it, then do it yourself. You understand what I mean, right? Yungu?" Lin said with a slight smile. Yungu scratched his head in embarrassment and said, "I'm sorry, Lin, I didn't mean it." Lin waved his hand nonchalantly and said, "Hawashi Dolang will leave it to you during this time. I'll go back first." Lin did not return to the exclusive room, but came to the company he opened with Ford. The purpose of coming here is to get some rare ingredients that were recently acquired to enhance the infinity body. After getting the ingredients, Lin started working directly in the company's kitchen. Although his cooking techniques were not very skilled, every process showed a certain degree of cooking experience. In his previous life, in order to prevent Lin from becoming a soft-footed shrimp that could not walk when seeing blood, Lin's grandfather took Lin to his best friend who was a chef at a state banquet. He mainly worked as a prostitute, butchered some animals, and learned carving on the side. However, in the process, Lin still learned a certain craftsmanship under his influence. Not long after, dishes were placed on the table one after another. Lin could no longer hold back when he smelled the aroma, and started to eat hungrily. After a gust of wind swept away the remaining clouds, Lin was surrounded by a sense of happiness. Not only was his taste buds satisfied, but he was also intoxicated by the feeling of getting stronger in his body. After dinner, Lin told Ford to transfer 20 billion ringgits to Jung, and then Lin left the company. Sitting on the table in the exclusive room, Lin was writing furiously. After an unknown amount of time, the white paper was filled with dense words. Looking at the paper full of words in his hand, Lin smiled with satisfaction and said, "You can give it a try." Before making the oath and restrictions, Lin conducted 2 hours of knife zen in order to improve his condition. In the inner peace, Lin began to formulate vows and restrictions on his telekinesis ability. Pledge 1. The ability to read is based on the prison and coexists with the prison. It is called the prison beast white dragon. 2. The hell beast white dragon can swallow the ability of thoughts, resentment, and thoughts after death. After swallowing the thoughts will be purified by absorbing the life essence in the prison. The digested thoughts will generate higher quality life energy in Xiaobai's body. This energy is called life essence. 3. Under normal conditions, the prison beast white dragon will also absorb the life essence in the prison. The devoured life essence can continuously improve the quality of the life essence and turn the life essence into life essence. 4. The hell beast white dragon can treat the thought master by consuming life essence, including a series of harmful substances such as broken limbs, diseases, viruses, etc. 5. The hell beast white dragon can attach itself to the mind master, burst out life essence to enhance various attributes of the mind master, and can devour the mind applied to the mind master at any time. Constraints 1. After the hell beast white dragon swallows the thought, it cannot perform the second thought elimination before the digestion is completed. 2. The hell beast white dragon can speed up digestion by sleeping, but it must be fully digested before it can wake up. 3. The hell beast white dragon can devour the thoughts in the host without limit while possessed, but the possessed state can only last for 30 minutes. After the possession ends, the speed of digesting the thoughts in the body will be reduced by 10 times, and it will be forced to enter It is in a deep sleep state and cannot be awakened until the thoughts are digested. 4. The Hell Beast White Dragon has no attack power. In making oaths and restrictions, if you want to improve your mind ability, you must pay a sufficient price. Reen had been thinking about how to avoid the damage to himself as much as possible and increase the upper limit of his telekinesis ability. After some careful consideration, Reen decided to target the prison. Using the life essence in the prison as a bargaining chip was the best choice for Reen. The most stringent one is that the Hell Beast White Dragon has no attack power, which is equivalent to the Hell Beast White Dragon completely becoming an auxiliary telekinesis ability. In order to make up for the lack of combat effectiveness, the possession of the Hell Beast White Dragon came into being. After all, life essence is a higher level energy than life essence, and it should improve physical attributes a lot. Without summoning Xiaobai, Lin entered the prison with a thought. Chapter 20. Inside the prison. The moment Lin entered, he saw Xiaobai flying leisurely in the prison, and taking a breath of the life essence floating in the air from time to time, with a very comfortable expression. Seeing Xiaobai here, Lin understood that Xiaobai now had a symbiotic relationship with the prison, which meant that the oath and restriction were half successful. Open the data panel, and sure enough, something has changed. Warden, Ryan Purst. Age, 13 years old. Prison level, level 2. Prison skills, Eye of Judgment, Prison Controller, Infinite Body. Prison facilities, Warden's Room, Cell, Storage Room. Pet, Hell Beast White Dragon. Lifespan, 77 years. Sin value, 340 points. Next stage, Sin value 1000 points. Sure enough, Xiaobai has appeared in the display panel, and is also marked as a pet. Very good, the lifespan has also increased by 5 years. Looking at the information displayed on the panel, Lin expressed great satisfaction. Then Lin called Xiaobai and said, "The next step is up to you." Surge. Under Xiaobai's confused gaze, Lin directly broke the bones of his left arm. Enduring the pain of his broken arm, Lin said to Xiaobai, "Xiaobai, please heal me." Surge. After Lin finished speaking, Xiaobai clung to Lin's broken left hand, and his body emitted green light. 2 seconds. Under Lin's disbelieving gaze, in just 2 seconds, the bones of Lin's broken arm were already intact. "It seems like you need to try it slowly." Lin touched his chin, eyes shining with excitement, looking at Xiaobai wrapped around his arm. After various attempts, Lin unlocked many novice postures. After returning to the room, Lin noticed a missed call from Biscay. "Dip dip." The call was quickly connected, and Biscay's surprised voice came. "Lien, you actually became a mind-killing master, which really surprises me." Lin smiled and replied, "It's nothing surprising, it's just fate." Suddenly, Biscay's voice became very solemn and said, "Lin, I want to discuss something with you." Hearing Biscay's solemn voice, Lin also said seriously, "What's the matter? How about becoming the exclusive mind killer of the Hunter Association? The benefits are absolutely generous." After Biscay finished speaking, Lin said, "Doesn't the Hunter Association have its own mind killer?" Well. I didn't tell you because I was worried that you would be worried. The mind-killing master of the Hunter Association has retired due to physical reasons." Biscay said a little embarrassed. "Is that so? Let me think about it." After saying that, Lin hung up the phone and fell into thinking. Regarding becoming the exclusive mind killer of the Hunter Association, Lin knew very well that it was definitely a choice with more advantages than disadvantages. Not only are there channels for Xiaobai to absorb Nian, but there are also various association benefits, which are very conducive to Lin's growth. Lin almost agreed just now. The reason why he had to wait was because Lin hadn't thought of any conditions yet. After thinking for a while, Lin decided to postpone the matter. The most important thing now was the battle with Hisoka. After all, it was Hisoka who was not generally strong, so it was better to make more preparations. Picking up the new chocolate ball sent by Ford on the table, Ryan sat on the chair and felt the sweetness of the chocolate while closing his eyes and thinking. As Lin continued to practice, 11 days passed in the blink of an eye. Lin, who was practicing that day, received a call from Biscay. Biscay said, "How do you think about what Lin said last time? Do you want to become the exclusive mind killer of the Hunter Association?" Lin was a little helpless. He knew without thinking that Biscay must have told the Hunter Association about his acquaintance with the mind killer. Otherwise, this guy would not be so anxious and would definitely wait for Lin's reply. When things got to this point, Lin could only say straight to the point, "It's okay to join, but I have conditions." "What conditions?" this guy asked. "I hope the Hunters Association can vouch for me and sponsor some prisoners with Nian from the prison, and when I ask for help, the Hunters Association can allocate more resources." Lin's condition may be too big or too small, but he believes that the Hunter Association will not bargain over this matter, especially if it is unwise to offend a mind killer. This guy said, "Are there any other conditions? If not, I will reply to the president directly. In addition, I need to know the price and specific ability of your mind killing." Lin thought for a while and replied, "With these conditions, the specific abilities are simple wound healing and devouring thoughts. The price of eliminating Nian is that the Nian beast needs to swallow the same amount of qi, which can be mine or someone else's, so I need some prisoners as the price." "Okay. I'll contact the president right away." This guy hung up the phone immediately after saying that, looking very anxious. In fact, Lin didn't know that this guy was also in a difficult position at this time. After hanging up the phone, this guy sighed softly and couldn't help but think of what happened 2 days ago. 2 days ago this guy needed information from the Hunter Association about a gem. But the confidentiality level of that information was too high. It seemed to be related to a ruins and required a high price and authority. Although this guy is a 2-star gem hunter, most of her net worth is spent on acquiring gems, and there is no price to pay for them. As a last resort, this guy had to find Nitro, the leader of the Heart Source sect and the president of the Hunter Guild. Originally, Nitro was not prepared to help this guy, but this guy thought that the Hunter Association would introduce a mind killer in exchange for this information, which made Nitro take it seriously. The Hunter Association is a highly functional organization, except for those with rare telepathy abilities such as telepathy masters, who play a very important position in it. Since the last mind-killing master retired due to physical reasons, the Hunter Association has become a big problem in recruiting mind-bending masters. In a tea room on the top floor of the Hunter Association, Nitro, who was drinking tea, heard a dip sound. The bean-faced man playing with the tea set on the side said, "President, should I avoid it?" "Need not." Nitro waved his hand and answered Bisji's phone. "Old man." He agreed to become the exclusive mind killer of the Hunter Association, but there are conditions. "The condition is..." This guy got straight to the point and told Nitro about Lin's situation and conditions. After hearing this, Nitro narrowed his eyes and said, "I can agree to his request, and I can even use my name to guarantee the prisoner." Before this guy could be happy, Nitro changed his voice and said, "By the way, last time you said that the new disciple who joined the sect and was very talented was him." "Yes, sir, you are interested in Reen?" this guy asked. Nitro smiled and said, "I didn't know until I met him. In addition, I also have conditions. I hope that child can participate in the Hunter exam next year. After all, the Hunter Association's exclusive mind killer cannot do without a hunter's license." This guy thought for a while and said, "I know, I will tell Lin. What other information do I need?" "No problem, I'll let Xiaodu give you the information." After finishing speaking, Nitro said to the bean-faced man, "Let me know that there is a new telepathic master in the Hunter Association, and give her the information this guy needs." "Okay, President." After the bean-faced man finished speaking, he left the tea room. Nitro looked at the teacup in front of him with deep eyes and murmured, "I really want to see how evil you are."